We're live. Let's see if it shows up on the good old YouTube. Since Jason always does this, let me see. Refresh. Oh, there we are. Sweet.
What is that?
Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Lag.
Got a little feedback.
Got some EMP going on in here.
That was my lightsaber. When the battery is low, that's how it turns off.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the best game.
All right, we got 3 people watching right now. Awesome. For some reason, it used my family email to send all this stuff out. So if you see the that weird long, my kid, it was Team Sail Off, and then my kid just smashed her hand on it one day while she was in her computer, and was like, "Oh, I guess we're gonna keep that." So
Yeah, figure it out. I'm like, what does that say? I know it means something.
it was Team Sail Off.
Gotcha.
Yep. So what's everybody up to today?
Dennis, you start.
Yeah, well, the family's not feeling well, so I've been basically taking care of everyone. Just running up and down, feeding them, running errands, and everyone's kind of just holed up in their room, just kind of resting. So just been that kind of day playing. Was it Mr. Mom? Is that what it's called? Mr. Mom.
Yep. Man,
Yeah, nothing crazy.
I've been my wife's not feeling too great either. But it's that time of year here where everybody starts getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
And the Slate boys, it's like
The future.
Yeah, Storm boys. Yeah, no, I've just been working. I was working right up until a couple of minutes ago. So working on the book. So
Nice.
yeah, I'll continue to do that.
How's that coming along?
It's okay. Couple of roadblocks, but powering through them. Writing's not my strong suit.
Good. What's Jerry up to today?
Same thing. Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of writing, a little bit of gaming. Today's my day off. Wife went to work, so I was home with the kids. Dealing with their craziness. But same thing. Writing, trying to get this second issue done as well. First issue is almost done. And just starting to write the script for the second one.
Badass. Jesse, the Godfather.
Is that going to be a new thing? I don't know if I want that.
It's totally going to be a thing.
Okay. For any questions, I want to take a second to, if I look this way. Hey, Jerry, I think this is our first time actually meeting. What's up?
What's up, buddy?
Very nice to meet you.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we've talked back and forth in comments a couple times, and of course, I've watched you on here. But we haven't really had the real chance to get to know each other, so I'm excited to be part of the show tonight.
Definitely. I hear a lot about the burlaps.
I hear a lot about E4, so we both got some homework to do.
There you go.
Yeah. But good old Pennsylvania. It's cold. It's everybody's sick. The hospital I work in right now is like at capacity, like over 20 some COVID patients, over 20 some regular patients. It's crazy. It's crazy time. But you know what? I said this.
Are you a nurse?
Excuse me?
You're a nurse?
I work in the dietary department of the local hospital. So I basically oversee like the feeding of the patients, the feeding of the employees and stuff like that, like the cafeteria end and the patient line end where the patient's food is made and stuff like that. I basically do a little bit of it all. I supervise, I cook, I drive the hospital van, I work in the cafeteria, I do a little bit of it all. It's nuts. It's been a nutty time to be working in a hospital. And I was talking about that on the Covenant Live the other week. But I'll say it again just because I can't, I feel like I should and always bring this up when I can. But I work with some really brave people in that hospital. And like even before COVID, like, you know, just to have the guts to go into a very sick patient's room to make sure they're getting the right food, taking their orders and stuff like that. We have people that, you know, gown up and go into COVID rooms just to take their food order and see how they're doing and make sure their diets are all on the up and up and stuff like that. The people who collect the dirty trays from the rooms, like, it's nuts. And, you know, we've had, you know, some people, like, not work related, but people in the department get COVID and then they're out for a long time. And it's been a crazy time. But yeah, I work with some really brave, awesome people. And I've just been so happy to be a part of, like, that team of people that, you know, really comes to work every day. We all wear our masks like 8 to 11 hours a day. So yeah, it's crazy right now over here, but I got my my burlap and my comics that I'm working on to keep me distracted from all the crazy, all the horrors of what the world is right now around. But yeah, so that's what I got going on, just working my butt off over at the hospital and working on burlap stuff. I got some other fun writing projects in the works right now. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's amazing. We appreciate it.
I can't wait for the next set of burlap books.
Well, it's coming up faster than I planned this thing back in like last April, and now January 13th is going to creep up on me like that.
Yep.
But I'm feeling good about it. It's, you know, there were, as a lot of you guys know, a lot of delays and setbacks with certain aspects of the books, but we're finally back on like a great trajectory. So January's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, you have a solid team now, right? Like on the book. Yeah, because you have Mitch Underwood on there. Is he doing everything for it now?
He on Hammer On and Anvil, Mitch Underwood is doing the pencils and inks. And actually, this is actually an announcement I will make on Instagram, but I might as well, as the last episode of Phalanx this year, Bia Navarro will be coloring Hammer On and Anvil. And I am so excited. If anybody watching, or I think everyone in this room knows who goes. Is.
Yeah.
That piece she did for Crit was amazing.
She's a great colorist. She did the color work on Ether 1 and 2 that's in production right now. She did work on Stride books. She did all the covers for the 90s Nightmare trilogy, like the A covers. And yeah, I told her I knew she was working on Ether issue 2, and I was wondering if she could fit in part 1 of the 90s Nightmare trilogy. And yeah, she was game. And I just love working with her. She's such a awesome person to work with. She's just, you know, very she communicates great, and she's always like sharing ideas and putting her own input in, and it's just great to work with her. So we got her and Mitch and JD Gonzalez doing lettering on part 1. Part 2 is 100%, I guess the writing aspect all done by me, but the lettering, inking, pencils, shading, all Lou Cooper, the writer of and artist on Hollow Girl, who's an amazing guy. He's fantastic. He's a British guy who lives in Slovakia, and he's just so awesome to work with. And then last but not least is one of the newer additions to the team is Napalm Comics on Instagram, aka Martin Pauso. Again, probably butchered that last name. But yeah, he's actually sent me the first couple pages of No Rest for the Wicked, and it is looking great. It's a very vintage, badass kind of like 80s, 90s look. And I'm just super excited that book is back on track and things are moving. So yeah, that's what's going on over here. I'm starting to take Chris's role as the guy who babbles a lot. Somebody else talk.
Hey, I'm okay with it.
I'm trying to be here for like 2.5 hours or something, so take as long as you need. What happened to Jason?
He's just doing some family stuff today. So
personal stuff going on, you know.
Yeah. So he asked me if I would take over for the day and run the show.
No, you need a stogie. You need to turn that hat around.
Turn the hat around.
You better have a Speedo on underneath that sweatshirt.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Quick one little tidbit. I know Jason will love later. I knew I said stop talking, but this needs to be said. So the first episode of Phalanx I was on, my wife watched. I was in New Jersey with my daughter visiting my mother, and my wife was in Pennsylvania. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing the show. I'll do it from my stepdad's office. And she's like, cool, I'll tune in. And at one point, she texted me during the show. She's like, I think your friend Jason just stood up. Is he wearing like Speedo underwear? Outside?
The pink board short.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was.
He was.
Like during the live, like not like in any kind of like green room. But during the actual live, I can see a bunch of people pausing, like, oh. I'm excited for Jason to watch this episode now.
That's great.
On to you.
Good thing I didn't waste my time with the Green Ranger shirt. I was thinking of starting the live with a Green Ranger shirt and being like, hey, look, I don't hate all the time. And then be like, I got to take the shit off. Oh,
what about Slate Boys? Jesse talked for 15 minutes, so you have the floor now.
So he's the guest. I'm just great crashing.
You talk.
You can talk.
Yeah. So thanks for having us on. You're looking it's going to be fun. But you guys talk it up.
Well, we'll do a round robin real quick. Looks like we have a few people watching. I'll start. I'm Chris. I run Homebrewed Comics, where you can find Crit on the hat. I just released issue 2 earlier this month. It shipped out. Issue 3, I'm about halfway done with the inking on that. And then actually the guys to my whatever this direction is on your screen, those guys are working on issue 0. Really excited for that. So got some cool stuff in the works. And then Jack, you and Nate can introduce yourselves. Let's do the round robin real quick.
My name's Jack. I'm part owner of Slate Comics. I'm currently working on my own OC cult at the moment, which is pretty much starting the drawing phase now, I guess. So it's underway, and hopefully having that released in like probably third quarter, probably fourth quarter of next year. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, Nate, other owner of Slate Comics here. I am the one polishing up the inserts for the moment for Crit 0, so Jack will be getting that in a few days to colour. Omen, I'll admit, my OC character, the script is complete. Issues 2, issue 3 scripts are almost complete. Issue 4's been drafted, and the inks are almost finished for that one as well. I'm also doing a Batman Macabre issue, as well as possibly a Star Wars one now as well. So, yeah.
Wow.
Now,
he does more at Slate Comics
I
than
do a
I
lot.
do. Yeah, he does a lot. I'm along for the ride.
Hashtag Mr. No Sleep.
No. For those who don't know, my name is Dennis, DR Valencia Designs. I am an artist for Pharos Creative Studios. I work with Jason, launching the Convictor, hopefully working on Hellwolf, but we'll go into that when we talk about future endeavors. But pretty much everyone on this panel, I know the 2 boys this way, that way, working with them hopefully next year. I've been working with Jesse down over here. We've had a project and hopefully more. But yeah, just a pen and hopefully launching my own OCs the end of next year with Pharos Creative Studios and of course with the Slate Boys and expand my portfolio. So
awesome. I can't wait for that. We're going to go down to Jesse now.
All right. So I'm Jesse James Bear, and I am the writer and creator of Burlap. I work with Covenant Comics, which Burlap is published by. They also publish J.D. Gonzalez's Crossbones, Jesse Chisholm's Ether, and Thomas Retsky's Stride. We had a super successful, awesome Kickstarter for Burlap Volume 1 last year, going into a new one this year for the 90s Nightmare Trilogy, which is a kind of prequel type deal for new readers and readers who have read it alike. And yeah, I've worked with Dennis, of course, as he mentioned, and Dennis has done just amazing burlap stuff from day one. I'm pretty sure he was like one of the first people to discover me on Instagram and was like, hey, I draw stuff. I would draw stuff for you. And I was like, draw the stuff.
Hey,
and
it's fan art, man.
Yes. And of course, like I said before, Jerry, I'm meeting for the first time, really. And I'm very excited to get to know you. Chris, I'm pretty sure we linked up because you were looking for a printer for Crit Issue 1. And you had noticed I was posting about the books I had printed through Digital Universe for my Kickstarter. I think that's what got our ball rolling.
Yeah, you posted on Facebook the spread on the table and shouted them out. And at the time, I was trying to put together a printer for issue 1, and then it was history from there.
You can't say the word ball and spread in the same sentence. But
On the table.
I told them both, and I was like, I can't with these Aussies, man. They broke.
Man.
I was watching their faces. They broke. I was like, oh, okay.
I saw it happening. Yeah, and of course, the Slate boys I've gotten to know very well through the group chat we're in, just through their amazing work. Both Jack, and Nate both read Burlap and given me awesome feedback. So we've just gotten to know each other through the this little community we're a part of and this little group we're a part of. So happy to know all you boys, and Jerry, happy to be getting to know you. So,
and Jerry,
what's up, everybody? I'm Jerry from Ep07 Comics. I am the writer of The Elements, co-owner, I guess you could say as well. I got a couple of other people that I work with that are in the dark. I don't like to show their face. So sometimes it just looks like it's just me, but it's really not. But basically, we have issue 0 out of The Elements. We're currently finishing up issue 1 of The Elements, and I'm working on the writing for issue 2. I will hopefully have issue 1 out by February, kicking off a Kickstarter, hoping that all runs well so that way we could fund issues 2 and 3. I've known these guys this year, started this year. I want to say that Chris and Jason were the first 2 that I started talking to, and then from there it branched off to the boys in Slate Comics, and then Dennis, and now I'm meeting Mr. Jesse. So I definitely would like to start off saying that this year started off pretty negative or pretty tough for a lot of people, but this whole indie thing that happened was a very big positive. Oof.
Cheer up, Jerry.
Cheer up over here.
Good know we meant that much, you mate.
Oh, you guys touch me, man. But yeah, like this whole year has been very, 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 tough and everything. But this whole indie community thing was a very big positive thing that came out of it and everything. Meeting you guys and motivations every day, seeing what everybody's putting out. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this keeps me going. Every time I see you guys pushing forward, it's like, all right, you got to hit the books. You got to get the books coming out. What do you plan on doing next? How do you plan to expand, et cetera, et cetera? It's like a constant feed off of each other that, very appreciative, and when you wake up in the morning and you see you're part of Dennis's, artwork, and it's just like, wow, that's so beautiful,
That's
so
great.
it's greatly appreciated, what we all do and everything, how we support each other, look out for each other, and help each other out and everything. And I just hope that the bond just gets stronger and stronger. Maybe hopefully next year when things get better, we could probably meet up at some cons, actually meet face to face, hang out, chill, whatever's possible.
I took some notes from Jason since he couldn't be here today, and he wanted to let everybody know Hunter's Moon, it's going smoothly. As you can see from his recent posts, everything's looking amazing. Him and Cristiano Cruz, who does work on Crit as well, they've been just knocking some pages out, and I'm actually lettering that book. I'm lettering all the stuff on Pharos Creative Studios. I should probably mention that. I'm doing me and Dennis over here I'm gonna be lettering his Hellwolf book, and then I think we're moving into the next Convictor book. We haven't Jason hasn't really set a date on that. I hear it might be going digital, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah, he said the other day he was drawing digital, and I just got excited because it'll speed his productivity up a bit, and yeah. So we have Mo Lubis in the comments. I am going to call him out because he just him and Cristiano Cruz just created one of the most amazing pieces I've seen on a book of my own, and actually I will say the most amazing cover. That thing is sick. He just finished inking this morning the Heroes version of it. So I'm not going to give it to Cristiano until probably the second week of January. I want him to have time to finish up his work on Hunter's Moon. But if you see Mo in there, Mo's a godsend to my book. I'll tell you that he just kills those covers. So I appreciate him. And I'm gonna ask who wants to go first for our agenda today. First question: what was your goal for 2020? I'm not going to assign it. Raise your hand. Go first.
I'll go.
Dennis got his hand up.
What was my goal?
What was your goal for 2020?
You know what? A couple of goals that I'm going to say I did not meet. I'll start off there. Because like I said, I always feel that it's good to share your downfalls with people so that way, people can relate.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think that everything that they see is all happy dandy. We're not going through our own personal issues that we are, but it's through that we push forward to complete what it is that we have to complete. But I was hoping to have issue 1 out by this year. Like the original game plan was, I want to say November, but then a bunch of stuff happened, with my artist and including him breaking his hand. So, yeah, so we kind of had to postpone everything and push it back until he healed up. And, now that he's back and he's working at it, so we kind of had to extend the date and everything. What else did I have planned? Work-wise, I was looking to become from an EMT to a medic. I wasn't able to complete the course. So I'm going to have to, reschedule to re-enter that course to get it completed, hopefully by 2021, but anything else about this year we had planned, we had a couple of things we planned family-wise that we also couldn't pull off due to the whole coronavirus thing that happened and everything like that. So, but things that happened that I wasn't planning, it's what actually surprised, this year and stuff like that. So once again, it's also people that we've met outside of the whole indie thing and stuff like that that helped us out. And that's a big positive thing for us. So the book was one thing that I wanted to have done by this year. The Kickstarter I wanted out by this year was not able to come out and stuff, but it's 2020. So we roll with the punches. Keep
moving forward.
That's it. So
Jesse, we'll go counterclockwise now.
Yeah. Reverse Brady Bunch.
Yep.
Yes, sir. All right. The agenda. Well, we're starting with the what good things happened in 2020? Was that what you said?
Jerry kind of elaborated, so we'll just do both questions in one. What was your goal for 2020, and what did you accomplish? All
right. So 2020, my main goal with this year was, when it comes to comics and when it comes to all this stuff, was to get Burlap Volume 1 out there. it began production in 2019, and then in March 2020, launched on Kickstarter. And that was my main goal, was to turn this completely failed short film attempt into an independent comic that people got their hands on. Like, it's one, like, you know, it was very gratifying to have the Burlap books to myself. Like, you know, I'd write it, Zoram would draw it, he would send it to me, and I had it to myself. But like, and I was so excited about it. But of course I was, you know, it's my creation coming to life in front of me, and I love that. But just getting it out to the world and getting it in the hands of readers, because I've said this before, but the main shtick with Burlap is I write it for those fans, for the fans of all the genres that it encompasses: the slasher fans, the vigilante fans, the comic book fans, and horror movie fans. Like, you know, that whole, all those little groups, even like, you know, westerns and noir and stuff like that. I really wanted to get it out there and just kind of see what people thought. And the Kickstarter in 2020, COVID aside, was extremely successful, and I'm still blown away by that. I still can't believe it. And I got it out to lots of people, and through my boys at Covenant Comics, JD and Jesse, through their website, they're awesome promoting. They got it out to a lot more people. The sales have been good. So that was something I really didn't see coming, because, you know, for me, thinking about Burlap, it's like, oh, this to me, this is awesome because I love all this stuff, but will other people like it? And I've gotten great feedback, and I just, you know, it makes me really happy to hear, because it's just a fun passion project for me. For me, it's just, you know, it's a way of therapy, and it's a way of just doing something, you know, fun for me that I love to do. But I also, you know, wanted to get this book out there for those fans, and I feel like I accomplished that in 2020. I like, what was that? Where'd that come from?
Sarge just entered the comments, so I put his comment up. Jason is officially in the chat.
Jason's here.
In the video, so he's chiming in the chat box there.
Hope he's wearing pants, though.
Yeah. He interrupted Jesse like usual.
Totally fine, Jason. I hope you have a stogie in your banana shorts.
I was gonna drink a beer, and then I realized I care about my health. So
I'm glad you're here, Jason. Glad you're here. But yeah, that's just, you know, as far as 2020 goes, my goal was to get Burlap out there, get it in the hands of readers, get people talking about it a little bit, and that it worked, and I'm very pleased with that. And I, you know, of course, I would like to get out to many, many more, and I hope that's possible in the near future. But I'm just so happy for what I accomplished with the Kickstarter with the first 4 books. And yeah, I believe that's.
Did you say failed movie attempt?
Yes, I did.
What do you mean?
Actually, you know what? Will that take some work? It would take a little bit of work, but I might just do it. There's actually props in the garage I'm sitting in from the failed Burlap movie in a trunk right over there.
Really?
The cottontail mask is right over there. Everything. I might pull that out just for Dennis's sake.
Yeah.
it's really cool to see the evolution. You know.
Yeah. So long story short, I spent my entire life trying to be a film director and a film writer and an actor. Basically anything to do with Hollywood I wanted to do. So I went to college for it. I majored in cinema video production. I was a part of a couple independent films. And when I say indie, I mean like on a DVD somewhere under a film student's bed indie. Not like you'll find it on IFC or something like that. But they were fun experiences. I feel like they were decent movies, but I gave up on that for a little bit because you know, I got married, I became a father and all that, and just focusing on paying the bills and keeping my family fed. But I decided to jump back into the film pool a couple of years ago, and what it turned into was a short film that would later become the Burlap comic, and it went through horrible, like from actors getting injured in the same week. I had an actor get in a car accident and hurt her back so bad she had muscle spasms, and I had an actor like somehow also in a car related incident break his right arm, and this was the actor playing Drayton, and he had to do like hand-to-hand combat. He had to handle weaponry and all kinds of stuff, and he can no longer use his right arm at all. And
Wow.
yeah, we tried to come up with some ideas, but in the long run, like I had to think of the production. It breaks my heart to this day because me and him don't talk anymore. But it was a very stunt heavy performance. He was essentially a stunt man, like Jason or Michael. And the actor playing Cottontail booked a gig in Ecuador for 8 months when we were supposed to be shooting the Burlap movie. So it just fell apart. We lost our locations because one of them got demolished, an abandoned train station I was going to use. And the boys who know the Burlap #1 know that train station scene. It's very pivotal at the climax of Burlap #1.
Mm-hmm.
And so that scene initially... Oh,
That's my boy. He's
but,
my
yeah,
childhood friend.
that fell apart, and and so I just decided after I met comic creator Buzz Hassan of the Living Corpse at a convention. I was talking to him about comics. I was like, this could be a comic, and so I reformatted Burlap into a comic book, the script into issue 1, and the rest is history. So.
You kind of sound like me that I had because originally when we made the elements, it was kind of, in hopes of it being like an animation.
Oh yeah.
So that's exactly how I always, wrote it out and everything. So then when we decided to go, comic version, it was like, wow, okay, so how am I gonna transition from anime to a comic book? And I think that was probably like the hardest thing to do, to tell a story through still pictures.
Yeah, but it's also probably very freeing because when you're doing art like that, you can literally anything your imagination can come up with is on the page. You know what I mean? For me, it's so exciting because it's
You're
like
the next
drawn into these panels. Like
JD's the next Chris Claremont, because Chris Claremont originally wanted to he went to school for film. He wanted to be a director and a writer and all this stuff, and he couldn't do anything with it. And he was introduced to Marvel Comics and got into the X-Men. So yeah, it's a pretty cool path to following, because Chris Claremont's probably one of my biggest inspirations. So Dennis, I'm gonna go to you, buddy.
Yeah, man. I guess the goal for 2020, I didn't really have one. I mean, I started my Instagram in August of 2019. So basically, I mean, I was, for lack of a better term, I was fresh off the boat as far as that goes. So like literally had 3 months into the new year. And then my only goal really was for me was therapy, just drawing, feeling that part of my creative process. But my wife for Christmas had bought me an iPad Air. Everything I did was traditional. All my blank sketch covers were all traditional. And she bought me that, and it sat next to my bed in a box till May. So I didn't start doing digital till May, but that was my goal from like Christmas till May. I would look at this box. It was still in a plastic, and I'd be like, I got to learn digital. I wanted to go take my art to another level. I knew that's where, everything is going technology-wise. And I was still doing traditional stuff, commissions, basically, mostly commissions and fan art, just for fun, really. But my whole goal for 2020 really was some digital. Picked it up, started doing some cool things, still learning, talking to certain artists that are doing digital, picking up ideas, and just a lot of experimenting, trying things over and over. I just did a piece the other day, and it looked like trash, but I just keep going forward, keep going. And then at the end, it looked fantastic. So it's one of those things where just keep pushing forward, because I know at the end it'll come out how I want it. But the only way you're going to learn is if you keep trying and trying different techniques. So start learning the program, watching YouTube videos. But that was it for 2020 as far as goals went. And then somewhere in there, everything went like right. And then next thing you know, I meet Jesse and I start doing fan with him, and he kind of asked me to do this for him. And then I meet Jason, and he asked me to jump on the Convictor. So it was all these little things that I didn't expect that worked out great. And then I meet you fellas, and then suddenly the trajectory or the process of what I'm doing is I always say, oh, I'd always tell my friends and my family, it's my side hustle. It's not just a side hustle now. It's more than just that. And that's for meeting you guys. But at the time for 2020, I mean, literally, my goal was just learning digital art and taking traditional to digital. Nothing crazy.
Do you have your day mapped out on when you draw all these things that you draw?
No. So, I mean, I've said this before. I draw from typically 10 o'clock at night till 1. And that's typically because my wife and my kids, depending if they have school, go to bed around 9 or 10. So I'll sit next to my wife, and she goes to sleep fast. So my wife bought me this little desk for Christmas where you can kind of like put it in your bed and you put your iPad on it, like an old man where he's reading like a book or something. So I sit in my bed like an old man. And I don't have my contacts in. So literally the thing is like this close to my face. When I take my contacts out, I can't see shit. So my wife's sleeping, and I'll draw from about 10 to 1, sometimes 10 to 2. And I usually get up at 6. So I get about 4 hours sleep because my kids, when they go to school, I go from like, say, 1 or 2 till 6 in the morning. And that's when I'll pump out my, most of my pieces. And, because it's digital, I can really nail some pieces out really fast. And that's been one of my strong points. Even traditionally wise, in 3 months, I think I did almost 50 pieces traditionally, just in 3 months of getting my name out there and doing commissions. And that was really just because trial and error and just trying different techniques and trying different mediums. But one of the benefits, and I told my wife this many times, is when it comes to even commissions, or at least when I started, one of my best things is I work really fast. So I can blow through a bunch of commissions, and then my plate is still clean and still keep, bringing in income, still keep putting out quality work. But that's probably one of my better traits that I have. I did want to slow down, and towards the end of this year, I did say, like, I want to do quality over quantity, but I still think I can do both. So it's just really like finding my lane. And even the pieces you're seeing, I think they're great quality, but I'm doing them very fast. So I'm like, okay, I'm still pumping them out relatively fast. It just depends on what I have on my plate. So like I used the last example where I did the whole, the 40 in the frame. Mm-hmm. Those 40 characters, I mean, I stretched that out over 4 days, but I know if I would have sat and really just didn't stretch it out, because I didn't have much on my plate, I stretched it out. But if I didn't, I think I could have knocked that out within two days. And that's really just quick penciling, laying my flats down, and then going back and shading. And even my kid would sit next to me, like he'd sit next to me, but like he'd see where I'd start. And then an hour later, he'd be like, "Where are you?" And I'm halfway done. He's like, "How did you do that in an hour?" I go, "You just get your rhythm, and I have shortcuts." And he's like, "Oh, wow." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then next thing you know, he'll come back in like half an hour. He's like, "Where are you at right now?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm done." He's like, "How did that happen?" I go, it's just because you start to learn. One, I learned the program. Two, I learned my strengths. And then I learned my process of putting my pencils down, inking, put the flats down, going back and shading, and then going back and putting the effects in. And it's all like clockwork. And the next thing you know, you have a cool piece. That's really it.
That's crazy.
There you go.
Dude, like, hats off to you with the pieces that you've been putting out. It's phenomenal. So it makes me scared to actually see you stop one piece and actually take your time with it. Like that's crazy. Like like how much more better can your artwork possibly get?
Well, I know. Well, that's the thing too. So even heading into 2021, one of the things, and we'll go into like what our goals are, but like most people don't know that I can do sequential, and I've told Jason this many times. It's not that I can't do sequential pieces and pages. I don't have time. Like if I'm drawing from 10 to 1 o'clock, that's a small 3 hours of time at the middle of the night, late hours of the night to do sequential art. It's different when you're doing like a splash page or just doing something for fun, but it's just time. And for me to refocus and say, hey, I want to knock out Hellwolf. Hey, I want to knock out my 2 OCs. I want to work with, these 2 studios and knock out my own books. I need to understand how I'm going to reallocate my time and how I'm going to prep for that. And that's what I'm learning now. Like I already started like breakdowns, plots, script. I have those all out. I've sent them to someone to look at and to edit it. And now it's a different process to what I normally is, which is typically was I sit next to my wife, I start doodling, and next thing you know, I start drawing inks in and flats and special effects, and boom, here we go. So now it's just refocusing my mindset for 2021, and my process of creating. So something like that.
Speaking of people that don't sleep and they create things faster than they can be thought of,
The future.
Nate.
Hashtag no sleep.
What is sleep with 4 kids, man?
It's about Dennis.
Well, real quick before we go into Nate, Dennis's work has
That's naughty.
tripled. Not like your speed has gone up, but like you said, you're still creating quality work, which is really impressive. Knowing the process and everything, going from traditional paper and pen to iPad. That just learning the program. I see my wife. My wife works in Photoshop every day and is a traditional painter. I hand her my iPad and she's like, I hate this thing. Like, how do I do anything? The piece we just put up, she spent 3 hours on my couch trying to figure out how to do it. And then she's like, can you just send me the raw file in Photoshop? I can't do this. And then she was done in a couple hours on the computer. So I feel you on that. And as far as sequential work, I think that a lot of people don't understand. I personally feel like sequential is harder than doing a splash page because you have so much room for detail on a splash page, and you can easily screw up in a sequential because you have a smaller area to work in, and if your perspective is wrong or your details are wrong, I mean, you have motion going in between panels. I mean, you guys saw that one piece that I sent you. I drew that thing 4 times because I just couldn't get my perspective. You have a door, and then you have a person and another person, and like things are moving. And then to do that panel by panel, you're not going to knock out, unless you're Nate, you're not going to knock out, 10 pages in a week. That's my goal. But yeah, so I feel you, and that's really awesome to see you grow over the past year. I think I started following you right around like April or May is when I found you on Instagram. And it's been really cool to see you grow.
Thanks, man.
I'll let Nate take the table though, because those guys usually join and kind of sit and let us have the time. So you guys get to speak. I want to hear about what your goal for 2020 was and what you accomplished in 2020 so far.
Goal for 2020. Goal for 2020 was pretty much just get an Instagram account. That was my goal. That was it. Slate Comics was already underway pretty much, and it was actually Jack was saying, no, we're going to launch it. We're going to launch the page now. I'm like, oh, okay, we're filming that one, but yeah, it was just to start an Instagram account. That was my goal.
Oh, wow.
Easy, simple one. But also want to refine my digital art a lot more. Like sequentials I do completely different to the splashes that I do. Example, both the Christmas and the Convictor and Santa, both of them, Santa and Convictor took 40 minutes from a blank page to full color.
Wow.
40 minutes. I timed it just for you, Chris. Yeah, that was my goal. Next year, a lot more goals, a lot more things I want to have coming out, but I've already got a foot in the door with that one. I'll give it to Jack. He's hiding me.
Jack.
First of all, I just want to say, screw this guy. I mean, wants to refine his art. This guy,
yeah. Always.
This guy,
always.
What a wanker, eh?
Always.
Oh wow.
Gotta get better.
I can't get over that. No, my goal for 2020. I didn't come into 2020 with a goal. All my goals were like life related. You know what I mean? Before COVID kicked off, I had this plan that I was gonna, get your finances sorted and all that sort of thing, get my life on track. Become an adult. Yeah, so that was the plan. But when COVID hit, it's, as we all know, we've already touched on it. It's been a pretty shit year in that regard. With COVID, it's affected a lot of people and all that sort of thing. But I think it's done the complete opposite for us sort of guys. It's given us the time to actually put time into our our independent projects and all that. So when COVID kicked off, I thought, well, I can't go out and do all the things I usually do, so I might, finally knuckle down and get this book started. And Nate had the same idea, so we decided it was time to get it sorted. And then we jumped on Instagram and we found you guys, and we we saw how great, Crit was established. This Burlap book we saw, Jason was just kicking off, and we found Jerry later on down the line. But it was a bit of a realization that we can actually do it. Well, for me anyway, like it was always just a pipe dream, thinking, that's it's a, if you're not Marvel or DC, no one's going to see your stuff, sort of thing. But seeing you guys in action and the big fan bases you've got kind of kicked us into gear, and started doing a couple of fan arts for, well, Jason it got me kicked off. Me and Chris touched on this in our last live. Just do a fan art for Jason and it'll just shoot you into the stratosphere. But
famous 101.
Yeah. 100%. But the goal was just to get established, get a fan following. And then me and Nate decided a couple of months back that we were going to actually, it's time to launch Slate Comics, which we've been talking about for years. And that was very well received. Thanks to you boys as well for sharing it around. We've got such a really good community, and probably wouldn't be where we are without you guys. So cheers for that. Just get established. That was the goal for the year. And we're always planning that this was going to be our establishment year. And next year, we're going to have a lot more goals. We've got a lot more stuff coming out. We can hopefully really, really cement ourselves in the indie community.
Awesome. I guess I'll go next. Last.
Oh, before you start, Chris, all right. I would like to blow it up. I'm sorry, but
table's yours.
Congratulations on Caliber and Omen's battle. Apparently, the win. Caliber was victor. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was. I'll say something real quick on that. I absolutely loved how Brett wrote that, because there isn't this moment where one dominates the other. It's very back and forth. You don't know who's going to win until the very end, and it was just cool, man. I think I talk to Nate every day. I want to know what's going on. Who won? What is this? And I mean, the artwork was phenomenal. The story was. I just give props to Brett for that, and I thank everybody for voting, especially for Caliber. That's my boy. But it was cool. I was really happy he didn't vote. What's that?
What? Nothing.
What did you say?
I did vote. I actually can't remember who I voted for because I was so torn. But I love both you guys, so it was one of them.
A couple people said they used two different computers and voted once for Omen and once for Caliber.
That's me.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I did vote for Omen. I'm sorry, Chris. But I just thought with that, I was like, okay, Magic versus Caliber, but I also love Omen. I love Caliber too.
But you know what? Like I told Jason, spoke to Jason about it after they did his thing. I forgot who he went up against.
He went against Wingless's guy, Caliburn.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Because of the same thing, like you said, I love the story that Brett wrote for theirs, and then the one that he wrote for Shock. And Eminence Comics character, forgot his name, Helios.
Helios, yeah.
What me and Sammy started to do was like, yo, how about we create like a small, maybe 6-page comic, 6 to 10-page comic of the actual fight. Like, just by the way it was written out, I think we can create something amazing out of this.
Yeah.
So Jason, that too. I was like, yo, you should look into probably creating something with Convictor and your fight scene and everything. So Caliber and Omen, hello. I think that's something you guys should definitely look into. Make it more, act out the fight scene.
I thought it was cool because nobody's ever been able to see Caliber's power set. I've had so many people think that he's just a gun guy, like he's a gun expert. I had somebody. It was when Impound was doing his little makeshift verses on his Instagram, and he's like, "I'm sorry, but Impound's going to take the guy that just uses guns," and I'm like, he's immune to all special powers. Like he's going to take you down to his level real quick. And I'll tell you what, if you ever meet Brad by himself, he's literally versed in 7 different forms of martial arts. I don't screw with him. Funny thing is, him and Boulder in real life fought, and he took Boulder down. Terrell's an Olympic class wrestler, grabbed his leg, and Brad specifically said, he was trying to show him a move. He's like, when I bring you down, don't get stiff, because if so, it'll screw up the whole thing. I just want to show you how to do this, because Terrell is just so, he like naturally goes into this mode when he's wrestling. He went stiff, busted Brad's knee. Brad had to wear a knee brace for like 5 years. So the ongoing joke is Brad was a ninja until he took a Terrell to the knee. So at some point in the comic, you're going to see a real life argument about who was wrong in that situation, because Brad clearly blames Terrell, and Terrell clearly is like, nah, this isn't my fault. Like, you totally just screwed the move up. But Brad's also, his father trained state police here on how to use guns. So he grew up, with a marksman for a father, and in the police force, he ranked, I think he got a 99.8 score, like the highest score in his class. So he's a really talented person. And when I told him, I gave him options, like, do we want to go Jackknife? We want to go Omen. And he was like, I think it'd be cool to go against Omen, only because of the background training is so similar to mine. So when I bring him down to my level and we get rid of the magic, we're still going to be able to tactically fight and maneuver each other. And I thought that it was played perfectly in that fight. So that was cool. I think Nate and I were just like blown away by the story. We didn't even care who won.
So, cool, something fun.
It was a lot of fun. Nate, you probably already have a drawing done of them drinking beers after this, but
I want to go to finish.
Yeah, so I'll go with my 2020, and like a few of you in here, I really had no goal for comic books in 2020. I had started drawing Crit. I want to say, it was like May or June of 2019. I drew the book that you guys are redoing, and at the time, I had been unemployed. I just pulled out a bunch of my old action figures as reference, because I come from just abstract Sharpie work, and honestly, like, I used to use paint and draw stick figures as a joke. I used to have somewhere in one of my hard drives is an animated stick figure fight that I did. Never really planned on doing anything like realistic. And so, I just didn't know how to draw perspective. And I know I didn't want to be a Rob Liefeld and have legs over arms and 5 chests and things. So I figured, hey, I know they make these drawing action figures. I'm not going to spend $100 on
every live stream.
Every
live stream.
So I pulled out my action figures, and I just started drawing them poses for a book, and I showed it to a few people. I got that's kind of cool, and I didn't like the response, to be honest with you. I'm a perfectionist, and I was like, well, if I can do this and get an okay response, what's going to happen if I up my game? And so, I bought an iPad, and actually, my wife bought me the iPad because, I asked her, I was like, hey, we're at Best Buy. We're getting stuff for your computer. Can you pick me up an iPad too? And she came home. We had the iPad Pro, and I started issue 1. I never planned on I wanted to have all of my books have this retro 80s, 90s comic book feel. Like, if you look at the beginning of Crit 1, you'll see that it's all colored in this dot matrix style, a lot of blank negative space. It was what I was going for, because I felt that talent-wise, I couldn't produce something that deserved quality color. So I thought, hey, if I stay in this realm, I'm not afraid to say, I know my own limits. I was like, I'm not going to go out there and think I'm amazing. I think if I stay within that realm, because if you look back at like those early books, details, that there wasn't a lot of detail, there wasn't depth, there wasn't all these things. It was a lot more simple. And what happened was, as I was drawing that book, I got about halfway in. I had to stop for a couple months because we had hit Christmas in 2019, and I only worked 2 weeks in December. So those last 2 weeks I was just drawing all the time, and wound up just my work got a lot better. And when we got into 2020, I made an Instagram for the art, not thinking it would do anything. The goal for 2020 was buy a house, get a second job, work a lot, and make sure my family had a roof over the head. That's really the only goals I had this year. Well, I met you guys. I met Jason first, and with the Kickstarter thing, thinking, hey, maybe I'll just put the book out. It'll be fun. And it all snowballed from there. The reception after the Kickstarter is what really motivated me to get into this as a thing, not just some kind of side hobby that while I'm watching TV at night, I draw some pages. It became a thing because, like I said, the Kickstarter failed. And then all of a sudden, I put it on my Facebook. I got this comic book if anybody wants it. And within like a week, I shipped over 100 copies. I was just like, oh, I guess people want to read this stupid thing that me and my friends made as a game. And yeah, and you see where it is now. I met you guys, and the fan art started coming in. All the cool things that we see, none of that was anywhere in my plan for this year. If you want to talk crit, the only plan we had for crit was to actually release our D&D game on either Kickstarter or Drive-Thru RPG as like a download. Like, we had no plan for it to become what it is, and now my group chat with my friends is about comic books. It's like, even Brad got in there the other day, and he's like, so I finally looked at Rob Liefeld, Chris. I was like, yeah. He goes, he's like, it's clear that anybody can get famous in comic books because this guy doesn't even know how to draw any anatomy. And it was kind of funny for me because I've been telling him for years, and he finally saw it. But to see my friends who aren't into comic books all of a sudden, get there, and what we accomplished was taking this stupid little fun idea that we had, that we get together and play a game, and turn it into something where, we have fan arts, we're doing competitions, just we got people literally all over the world, because Cristiano's in Brazil. And I forget where Mo is. Forgive me, but I know he's like in the future as well, because when I wake up is usually when he goes to bed. And I'm blessed. I mean, we can look at 2020 in a negative way, or we can take it for the positive. And I mean, at the end of the year, I bought my house. I'm still working 2 jobs, picking up a third, and pumping out these pages. I think that's cool. And one of my other accomplishments was meeting you guys. And I get to letter. I never thought I'd be a letterer, but I like lettering. Sometimes I like lettering more than I like coloring and drawing, because I said this to Jason the other day. We were talking about the letters for Hunter's Moon, and I was like, man, I just really like taking like the words and making art out of the words. If you look at book 2, oh, he bumped you down, Jerry. 2 versus book 1, which is being relettered, by the way. But in book 2, I lettered it 3 times, and by the 3rd time, I knew I wanted every bubble to have its own like image feel. And when I say image, like you look at it and it has a flow, it's like a circle or an oval. Like, I wanted to work within shapes, because I felt that it's another form of art on top of art. I don't know if you can understand it, but that was really cool. When I learned how to letter, that actually was, to me, cooler than being able to draw. Even that the piece I did for Conjure, like, Conjure took me 20 hours. I probably put almost 20 hours into lettering crit. But it was just a cool feeling to see that, like, getting to where I wanted, because when I lettered issue 1, I read this whole article on how to letter and the importance of having like lettering look right, because there's a big difference between a professional book and a non-professional book, and sometimes that boils down to how you letter it. And when I watched this video from this guy and he was explaining how letters can impact a reader's experience, I was like, well, dang, you know, if I'm over here drawing every day, I want to make sure that I can letter at the same time. And I was beating my head against the wall trying to figure it out. And then, you know, I just kind of put a lot of work into it. And that's probably what I'm honestly most proud of, is being able to letter. I know that sounds stupid, but it's something I work with.
It's funny you say that, Chris, because part of the editing that we're doing, so my concept artist, Dennis, he's a military guy. He's been away in the military for like more than a year. He finally came back. He's the guy that made the concept art for all my characters. And then I send it out to the illustrator, the artist that I use, and he makes it look the way it does. First thing, when I sent him the pages, I was like, yo, welcome back. Boom, it's 34 pages. What do you think? First thing he picked apart was the lettering. First picked up. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, dude, some pages are capital, some pages are not. You know, some things are missing this, some things are missing that. And I'm there like, wow, this is the reason why you got to have other people look over your work. So, like, for me, you know, like, I guess everyone here might have felt like, never felt my book coming to reality. You know, so a lot of times when we see it come into fruition, it's like, boom, and you're missing all the negative things that are in your face because you're just excited. Like, you know, I'm excited that I'm looking at my vision come to life.
Yeah.
So you got to have other people look over and like, yeah, this is wrong. This could be, you know, changed to this. This is wrong, blah, blah, blah. Because me being as excited as I am, I'm going to miss it. You know, and I didn't realize how important lettering was until, you know, like I said, he started picking it apart and stuff.
Well, so I have a bachelor's in design, like graphic design. My wife went to school for graphic design, and then Terrell's actually, he's got a teaching degree in literature. So when it came to the lettering part, I think my wife. Actually, I didn't let her proofread it, which I got in trouble for because we're missing one letter on a word. It doesn't ruin it; it just changes the connotation of the word. But I think everybody on the top row, Dennis. I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
Which one?
I know I had Crit 2.
Yeah.
I know Jason got it. I thought you got it. I know you, like, most of the team got it. I think Jesse was late to the game on that one. You were. It was. You know, it was like middle of COVID. I think I just like didn't bother you on that one because I think I sent you a message and you got back to me like a week later. And I was like, don't worry about it. But yeah, we had a lot of eyes on that, and I think that helped me out more than anything because, you know, I got questions. I don't understand the flow here. Like, you're going panel to panel, or is it going down and up? And so all those questions back to me helped me make the book what it was. Like, you know, the end product was so much better because it got into hands of other people. My biggest critic on issue 2 was my little brother. My little brother ripped that thing apart. He sent me a Facebook message, and my little brother, he actually was like ranked top 7 pick in the United States for any college he wanted to go to. He graduated when he should have been in 9th grade. He graduated high school and when he should have been, he was homeschooled by my mom. And so he's like really, really intelligent, knows his stuff, and he just ripped it all apart. He's like, I'm not trying to be mean, but if you did this or you did that and you moved this, or, you know, you should change the wording here. And then Terrell did the same thing. So I had all these different people giving me feedback. And, you know, I think as an artist and as a creator, that's some of the hardest stuff for us to take, is that feedback.
Yeah.
But if you can put that ego aside for just a moment and realize those people that are giving you that feedback aren't saying you suck. What they're saying is, hey, this is really good, but it could be better. You know, and like I call out my wife on every one of these, and that's my artwork. Like, the reason that my art gets better is because she looks at it and says, hey, you screwed up here, and she'll take my pen out of my hand and start scribbling. And anybody that works with an iPad and Procreate, it's like, draw a different layer, stop it. And she just starts scratching stuff out, and circle something or erases stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? And she's like, no, it needs to be this way. And the further I get into my books, the less she does that. Book 1, she ripped apart. Book 1, it's like, this leg needs to be here. We're going to erase this. We're going to move this. Chris, you're drawing vaginas on every single guy. We got to give them crotches. Like, she ripped it apart. And it was really, really hard. There were times that I wanted to give up because I thought I sucked so bad because she would just rip my stuff apart. And then I sat back and said, well, she knows what she's talking about. I mean, my wife knows anatomy and posing. Like I watch her on the job all the time, like posing people. And I'm like, well, I can do 2 things. I can take this as a negative and give up or just say, screw it, I'm gonna have some shit work. Or I can learn from it and hopefully get better. And, I hand her my pages now and I'm like, before you rip it apart, I think it looks good. This piece is, I purposely put this arm there. It looks a little weird, but it's for a purpose. And I hand it to her and she goes, okay. And she might say 1 or 2 things, but most pages make it past that initial, like, my wife, my first gate. And that, I think, everybody in here can probably say you've gotten better because of the feedback you get from other people. At least I can hope.
Oh, definitely. My brother hated when I would send him my writing because he does like my editing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the kind of person, like when the brain juices are flowing, I gotta put it down on paper. And I just start going and going and going and going. And by the time I'm done, I hand it to him and he's like, what the are you serious? Like, and he's like, now I gotta get the decoder out and decode what the hell you're trying to say. And he'll just start going over and everything. But he knows me, he knows my mind, he knows how it works, so he'll go over it. But even recently, he's just like, yo, you've gotten a lot better, and putting your words together and stuff. So keep doing that. It makes my job easier. It's like, thanks.
Like in our group chat, Jason, everybody sends like stuff in there, and I have learned between Brad and Jason trigger etiquette. If you look at the last image of Richter and the guys, there's trigger etiquette on that, or discipline. Brad complained about it once. He was like, I would not put my finger on the trigger unless I'm going to fire my gun. If I put my finger on it and it's pointed at someone, they're dead. That's it. Just don't have me walking around like this all day long. And then, so I worked on that, and then Jason pointed it out a few times, and then just the sloppy gun positions and things. So I've had to work on that. But I'm curious because Jack and Nate, you had the same company, both at Slate. Jack, you've been drawing a lot less time than Nate, and like, how does that feedback work with you guys?
Oh, well, basically whatever Nathan sends through is perfect. If I say it's wrong, it's not. And anything I send through is trash. So that's just the way things work.
I just don't want you to be Rob Liefeld.
Because I know Nate. Nate's told me a few times how he's trying to help you. Like, how does that work, being that you're so close?
Oh, it's good. Like, it's good to have someone that has an extensive knowledge of comics, and like, I've always been under the impression that it doesn't need to look correct; it just needs to look cool. I mean, that's why people read comic books, sort of thing. That's just so. It's kind of good to have Nathan here, who's like very meticulous in what he does. So, I'll send through something, and he'll go. For a bit there, when I first started out, I was drawing these big, massive bodies, but these little heads, like they have little pin heads, and he's like, make the head bigger. I'm like, no, the head's fine. But then you take a step back, you look at it, it's like, my head's too small.
So I got to the point where he'd send me something on Messenger, and I'd use the doodle feature, and I'll just draw red lines and send it back and go, that's the proportions you need.
It used to piss me off a lot, actually. It's not like when people correct your work, you think you've done something great, and then someone goes, nah. It's like, in your head, you're like, fuck this guy. But, you gotta, it's good to have someone to bounce off of. So I'm lucky in that regard. Like I said, everyone knows how good he is. So
I'm my own worst. There's so many pieces of art that I've got that just end up in the trash. That's where mine go. Doesn't last about a week before I'm bored of it and go, goodbye, go in the shredder. When it comes to drawing anatomy females, I go to my wife straight away because she's done modeling and everything. I just show her and go, "What do you think?" And she goes, "The boobs don't make sense. The hips don't make sense." I'm like, okay. Yeah, just take their advice. Happy wife, happy life.
Well, we have there's so many different, like, if you drawing, for instance, a woman versus a man. I'm a guy. I can stand in that pose and look at my own hands and go, okay, so that's what I need to look like. Or look in the mirror and get an idea. I really can't look in the mirror and go, how do my boobs sit in this picture? And it's funny because, especially like on the Conjure pick, I was like, hey, what do you think of this? And she's like, again, you drew her crotch completely wrong. And she's like, she has like little tiny hips. I'm like, it's a comic book. And she's like, fair enough. That's what you like, so that's what you're gonna draw. And I got in trouble on that one. But having that especially drawing female characters, I think it's important to have someone that can look at it and go, that's not right.
Yeah. Boob side profile. It's got to look correct, all right?
Meanwhile, Jerry's in the mirror with some bloody rockmelons in the mirror. Playing Star Wars dressed up as Princess Leia, aren't they?
So my third question for the night for everybody was, what's your goal for 2021? And we never get to hear these two talk that much unless they're talking shit. So I'm going to let you guys start it with what's your goal for 2021.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, 2021.
What a reputation.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a
Black Moss, let's get this on. All right. All right. Yeah, 2021. Well, since we launched Slate, I've got Omen hopefully coming in the first quarter, if not just after the first quarter for his first book. Book 2, I might not release it till 2022 as complete edition. So there's another 3 books coming there for him. So I've got Omen. The first one's Omen Revenant. Then I've got Omen Carnifax, Omen Day of the Dead, and the 4th one's Untitled. But that's gonna be a what the fuck book, pretty much. I've told Jack the premise in the draft, and yeah. It doesn't go where anyone's going to be expecting it to go. I'll be writing Huntsman for JB Arts to ink up for that. I'll be doing the coloring and the edits for that, but that's closer towards the third quarter of the year. Be helping Jack out, getting Colt out there into hands as well as if he needs the help writing up Jaeger for Reference AU, who'll be doing the art on that one. And then working alongside Swallow Valencia here, getting his OC out there and refined. And that'll be the last quarter of the year. Around the holiday time, that'll be the holiday book.
Wow. That's
just for now. 2022 there'll be a lot more titles and a lot more bigger books on their way. That's from my end of Slate.
Jack.
First of all, I just want to make it clear that I don't need this bloke's help. He just wants to help me. I don't need his help. So I just want to make that clear. I have one major goal for next year, and that's just Colt. It's a big project. And I've promised people that I'm going to get it out the next year. So that's my main, the big one. That's a big book as well. So I really want to get that out there. I have a couple of mini goals as well. Another major goal, of course, is Chris, you'd know, Lachlan Bradley, Reference AU, who's doing a panel for you in your new book. He's working on me. He's working with me. Shut up. He's he fucking deal with this all the time. All the time, got to deal with this. Yeah. Oh, mate. Yeah, he's going to be working with me on releasing Jaeger's first book. That's the another OC that I have. I'm also doing an issue for Derek, if Derek's still in the comments, on the Batman Macabre. That's issue 5. I'll be doing that. But yeah, mainly next year is just to really get Colt's book out there before the end of the year. And just want quality work. None of this pushing out and promising stuff that's not going to happen sort of thing. I want just a statement.
Use your words wisely.
He's using them wisely.
Just
this is unplugged. the Phalanx is a say what you feel area. Instagram.
Yeah, no, just Colt. That's my goal for next year. Just quality books and helping the boys out where I can.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw Lachlan's piece today. He sent me, he still got a lot of details and stuff. He said he's going to do and finish it tonight. But it's just awesome because he's drawing Caliber throwing a grenade and the pins out, and I was like, perfect. It's just perfect. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, no, he's a very talented artist. I'm very happy to have him on board. Very, very lucky.
For just to clarify, so for book 3, it started in book 2 having somebody do, like, I had Nate kind of come in and save my ass on that one page, and I was like, that'd be cool for, like, in every book have something from another artist on a page. And so I'm getting Nate to do a panel and Lachlan to do a panel, and it's different perspective of the same exact panel. So all 3 of us have drawn this same one, and it's all my guys arguing over how something happened. And so I thought it would just be fitting for different perspective to have different artwork, and it's come along pretty cool. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Genius.
Dennis, 2021.
2021. First and foremost, Hellwolf. I've been putting so much of just promotional pieces out for it. I really want to get, when Jason has time to give me that script, I want to knock that out. It's a mini, but it's sequential art, and basically I've been sitting on that, and that character, tickles every nerd, aspect of everything I want. The villain he's fighting, the way he looks, what he does, that's what I'm all about. So first and foremost, 2021, I want that script to Hellwolf so we can knock that out as a mini. 2 would be, of course, launching my OCs. I do have 2 that I'm planning. One I was going to plan to do through Pharos Creative Studios, and the other one was through Slate at the end of the year. The one I was doing with Jason is already, like I said, plotted, scripted. Rough's already done. It's a mini too. That's just to introduce the character. And then the one for Slate, I've already bounced it off the boys. What they've done in their universe just blends into what I was hoping to do. Just great things that I'm developing it constantly. So for you guys, Jesse, all you guys have created your stories. And for me, I'm new to the story part of it. So for me, there's so many different questions I have, and there's so many different things that are popping around in my brain of what you thought of when you did this, what you your process of how you created your books. And of course it's so helpful. But there's so many things, and just from what I've seen from all you guys, I feel what am I taking from all of you? What am I learning from all of you in your writing process? Because the writing process is new to me. I have this whole story I want to tell. I have 2 stories I want to tell. I've done the elevator pitch to my wife, and she's been she's giving me feedback, but I'm wondering if that would be the same feedback you guys would give me. So whenever I get a chance, I'd love to, get you guys feedback as far as your process, and when you look back on what you've done, what you think of it now. And then I'd love to hit you guys with questions of challenging your mindset when you created that story to how you look at it now. To one of the big questions I always had was you're letting your vulnerability show through your writing. And I feel that's where I didn't expect it to come from. But as I'm writing my stories, there's parts of me that are in there that I didn't want to come out, and suddenly they're out on paper. And I'm wondering if you guys had the same set, because I know for you, Chris, that's you and your boys. And then I look at Jason and I'm like, is he writing him, as Jason is, because Jason's kick ass, and here's this kick ass character. And then am I looking at Jesse, where it's this dark personality that just don't take shit,
Man,
right.
Jesse is one of the most amazing writers that I read his stuff, and so my stepfather's he's published 3 books, and I've read all of his stuff. My stepfather actually he wrote horror books, like Stephen King style horror, and so I grew up. There was a scene in one of his books where he attaches a drill to a guy's nipple and slowly rips the nipple off with the drill. I read it when I was 10. The book was called Inside Rex. And when I read his stuff, it gave me that horror feeling that I hadn't, because I'm not a big fan of horror, but I love I absolutely love how Jesse brings the characters to life and develops characters, because I think as a writer, that's people can make the background, the dialogue sometimes can come easy, but that development in a character through their actions and their dialogue in a book, many people fail on that. And I'll tell you what, those 4 books, I say it all the time, I read them twice back to back. Like, they're just amazing. We got Nick's in the comics.
Nick.
Nice.
Yes.
So get feedback from him, because I feel like in the writing process, honestly, I feel like I kind of cheat a little bit, because I create a blank like template for my guys to play in, and we write the story by playing a game. So it's very different. I think it's unique. But I know for a fact I would not write my story the way it shows on paper. In fact, like, we don't even plan any of that stuff. So, I credit everybody that writes their own material, because, mine's done by the roll of a die. It's like, hey, this is what I want to do. Does it happen? Okay, that's cool. I do kind of feel like a cheat in the writer area, but we do have to refine it. Jesse, though, man.
Thank you, Chris.
Give you props.
Thank you. Really
well deserved, man. Jason said Hellwolf Operation Sun Eater will be sometime 2021. To reiterate what you said, just wanted to give Jason a minute to shine in the scene.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'd say, at least 2021, is, and I posted it today, I do a lot of charity work. And it hits on different aspects of what's going on and what we're focusing on. And that's just been one of my big passions as far as what I'm producing. When I started drawing for years, I always knew I had some kind of talent. And for me, I always had that, that thought in my head, like, if you're talented, you got to share it, whether, paid or not. Like, you've been given a talent, you got to share it. So for me, it was a perfect conduit. So, if you aren't following Draw for Change, or if you haven't followed the gentleman who worked for Draw for Change, we're all working, it's a charity. We pick different groups we support, and then we create amazing pieces of art. We hope people will bid on it and buy our art, and 100% of the proceeds goes towards Draw for Change. So for me, again, 2021, creating better pieces that can drive in more money to whatever charity we're working for. So those are like the big focuses of 2021. I'd love to see where we are a year from now when we have this Phalanx again and see what we've checked off. God, I hope we could all just check them all off and be like, dude, like, all of these are done plus more. That'd be so sick.
Well, to that point, though, we entered 2021. Nobody in here knew each other. We entered 2020. We didn't know each other. And I know, personally speaking, I've gotten more done because I know you guys. I've stayed motivated. You guys have helped grow the brand, everything. And so I think going into 2021, I'm starting off leaps and bounds ahead of where I was going to 2020. So I think we could.
True.
Agreed.
I'm going to give Jerry a moment. 2021, what's your goal?
2021, release issue 1 and issue 2 of The Elements. Release that side piece that I was working with Eminence Comics, Sammy, that duel between Shock and Helios. I actually wanted to start working on a brand new comic, looking to make it about like armor, weapons, things like that and stuff. But I have like a very vague concept of it. I'm looking to get into more detail. I have no idea who I'm going to be working with or anything of that nature. So it's really at the beginning stages, so I'm trying to put that together, and hopefully it'll be something by 2021. Besides that, continue growing the brand, help out where I can, get more, be more of a mentor to other creators trying to come up, as well and stuff. So that's about it.
Jesse, you got a big 2021.
Yes, as I do. But first, the first thing I'm going to do is this is for you, Dennis. All right, just for you.
Nice. Let's go.
Oh
That's
my god.
Fantastic.
That's terrifying. That's so good.
Right there. There he is.
That's awesome.
The
Thank you.
OG. That knot actually inspired the whole character. Found that thing at my work and scared the crap out of me. And I was like, if somebody came at me with a gun or a knife wearing that thing, I'd piss myself. And that's what
I've been held at gunpoint twice, man. And I'll tell you what, if they were wearing a bunny rabbit hat, I'd probably be scared.
It's a rabbit.
oh, poor thing, Chris. God,
Yeah, I got held up at gunpoint taking a piss in New York City.
it's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea where I was.
2 years, I never got a gun pointed at me.
Well, when we were on tour, man, I was the only one usually sober, because about halfway into my career as a musician, I was told I was going to die because my liver was giving out. So I just quit everything all at once, and so that gave everybody else the reason to not drive because I was sober. And I just remember I pulled off this exit. It looked like a sketch part of town, but I'm like, hey, I've been driving the country for years. I literally grew up on the road. And I'm like, I've never been mugged before. So I get off the exit and I'm taking a piss and I hear some noise and then I got a gun pointed at me. I'm like, dude, you're robbing the wrong guy. I'm a musician. I have no money. And my pockets. Went back to the van. They're like, well, what's in your van? It's just a bunch of dudes sitting in the van. And they're like, yeah, man, we are dead broke. One of my buddies was almost pissing his pants. It was an interesting moment, but I was like, you can shoot me. I don't have any money. And it didn't really go well for those guys. They just kind of left. But it was for a moment. It was like,
we got no money, guys.
What happened?
Chris, you need to write a book, man. You need to write a book about your life.
I started.
Bro, and that'd be a thick book, man. If they were to turn that shit into a movie, it'd be like 5 movies long. The saga of your life and all the shit you've been through.
We actually, for a while before I actually. After music, before comic books, I dabbled in like indie work. My wife and I we were friends at the time. We shot in the same film. We didn't shoot together. It was like a bunch of little short scenes put together. And I've always played the bad guy or the asshole or the villain. Yeah, I've been in a couple, her and I got onto like 17 screens in North Carolina for this one film we did. But then, ACI's in here. What's up, dude? Yeah, dude, if I wrote a book, though, it'd be like volumes. I'll tell you
100%.
what. I'm
sorry. Jason just said that he's been shot. No big deal.
Funny thing, though, my stepbrother, he's been shot, not in the military. When I was like 8 years old, this dude was walking home from school, and he's walking next to me, and all of a sudden, he's like, we hear this gunshot. And I look back and there's 2 dudes running away. And I look at my brother. I'm like, you okay? He goes, man, my ass kind of hurts. And my brother's like 300 pounds, like a big dude. And he's got blood on his hands. So we go back to the house and he had this 22 stuck in his ass. Oh. My brother called him lead ass.
What in the butt top?
But he had he went to a different school than me, and at his school it was it was rough. And my brother was one of those guys that he was into anime and video games and trench coats and just he was so gothic and everything. And he apparently pushed a smaller person out of the way, and they didn't like it. They felt like he had insulted them, so they thought the best course of action was to shoot him with a 22. Not thinking I'm going to shoot a 6'2", 350-pound guy with a bullet this like a little 22. Yeah, it didn't do much to him except make him mad. And then my dad had a 38 stuck in his thigh for about 30 years. He shoots 6-shooters and he takes the cocking mechanism. He took the locking out of it because he used to do that old John Wayne thing. Yeah, well, he had slip and shot himself in the leg. So I don't want to get shot. I've seen what they do.
I see what book.
So Jesse,
I'm okay.
besides the animal head, we will not go any further into my crazy stories because I'll be here all night. Go ahead.
So yes, 2021 ahead for Burlap and myself. So a lot of things going on with Burlap. I'm just kind of like just going full force into it. Like we got the 90s Nightmare trilogy is launching on Kickstarter, but that was actually never even part of my plan. Like I have the first 3 volumes of Burlap planned out. And I had no intention of doing any spin-offs or one-shots or anything like that. And I got to talking to Mitch Underwood, and he had entered his art in the Burlap fan art cover contest. And I just loved his iteration of Burlap so much. I was like, hey, if you've ever interested, I'd love for you to do sequentials. You know, what's your rates and stuff like that. We just got to talking, and he's like, I'd love to work, you know, with the character. He's like, I love the character, I love the books, I would love to work on it. So I just thought, I'm like, okay, you know, I have all this stuff lined up for Zoran Jovicic, who's the main artist on Burlap, and I'm like, what if I did a one-shot, just a fun one-shot, just exploring a little bit more of Burlap's early years in the 90s. So I wrote the script, and I said, hey Mitch, I wrote the script, do you want to work on it together? And he's like, yeah. And then through that I met Luke Cooper from Hollow Girl, and he loved Burlap, and he got the digital copies, and he loved the character. And I was like, we should work together. And I first pitched Hollow Girl Burlap crossover. And he was just worried about the legality with it because he's published by Marcosia, I'm published by Covenant. So we kind of scrapped that idea. But he said, hey, if you ever have anything Burlap related you'd like me to work on, I'd love to do it. So I was like, you know what, I'll write another one-shot. And it'll be a double one-shot deal I'll do on Kickstarter. That'll be fun. And then I was like, you know what? I like the momentum I got going here. Let's do a third one and make it a trilogy. So then I wrote No Rest for the Wicked, had some ups and downs, went through a couple, went through one artist, didn't work out. Still great guy, great artist, just it didn't work out. And now I got Martin, aka Napalm, working on it, which is great. But that was never in the cards for 2021, and that just kind of happened out of the love I received from fellow creators for the character, and we just wanted to work together, which was great. And now I got the real plan for Burlap Volume 2 Post-Mortem, which is the direct sequel to Volume 1 that launched on Kickstarter, and which I know up top all 3 of you guys either own or have read that volume. So that sequel is in the works. Right now I finished the script for Post-Mortem issue 1. And I don't call it Burlap issue 5 because I see the Burlap books as like slasher films or like horror films with a sequel. Mm-hmm. So each Burlap book will have it, Burlap : like the title. So Post-Mortem is going to be the sequel to Burlap Volume 1. And then Volume 3 will come probably in 2022 or maybe 2023, depending on what happens with Post-Mortem and the 90s Nightmare trilogy. We'll see how that all goes or where my life goes and all that. But yeah, so 2021, you'll see 90s Nightmare, and you'll also see Burlap Volume 2 Post-Mortem. Yeah. I'll probably break it up a little more. I'll probably do... Oh, look, there it is. There's issue 3 right there. Oh, shit. Right in front of them.
We're the biggest fans, mate.
Right in front of them.
You don't read Burlap, Burlap, you're stupid.
Exactly. You don't read Burlap, you're stupid.
I shipped to you guys in your hands in Australia. Beautiful.
You guys are still waiting on your crit copies, aren't you?
Yeah, it's only got number 2. We've still got number 1 there.
It's under the boat. It'll be there.
It'll get. Hopefully, it gets there in one piece. I did the big box so it wouldn't get destroyed. I'm excited for everything that everybody's got going. I know, Dennis, seeing you create your own OCs, on 2 different platforms. I think that's going to be cool. Kind of like your own little freelance creation. That's freaking awesome. I think I've said 100 times I'm really excited for Burlap. Your book was the first indie book that I actually gravitated towards when we started talking. I had gotten a few off of Kickstarter, but I had gotten back into comics last year, was really let down with the quality of the main entries that I was reading, like X-Men shit the bed. I do like the art in Batman. I'm just really lost on a lot of the continuity in these titles.
Real quick, are we talking Greg Capullo Batman? Because that stuff is awesome.
I'm talking. Well, I love Greg Capullo. I've loved him since Evil Ernie. My father knows him somehow. Yeah. My dad's really tied into comics. He doesn't give me feedback on my own. Like my uncle and my aunt are in charge of like all the accounts for Marvel and DC at the printer. They work at the printer that prints those books. And like my aunt talks to the guy that owns Archie all the time. Like on personal phone calls, not just like business. He calls just to say what's up to my aunt. And so like, I've grown up around comics. And when I don't know if you ever read Cry for Dawn, but it's a dark, twisted book. It's a bunch of short stories. I have it around here somewhere. And I loved that. And it's black and white. And I'm not a big fan of black and white traditionally. In most books, I like to see a lot of color. And so when I picked up Burlap, at first I was like, oh, this is going to be tough because I'm not a big fan. It won me over real quick and reminded me of when I read Cry for Dawn in black and white. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because I like flashy, colory, bright stuff. And as you can see from the cover of Crit, like Mo and Cristiano just freaking make those things look amazing. But yeah, I'm really excited for your stuff, Jerry. I'm really stoked that in 2021 you're gonna be able to get your first and second issue out. And we all know I support Slate Comics. You guys are my boys. Really proud to have you guys on here, and I'm happy to have met everybody in 2021 through mutual acquaintances or just from literally, hey, I like your stuff. Where'd you get it? It's been quite a ride this year. And going into 2021, I never thought that I'd say my goal is to make comic books. Never once did I ever think that would be a goal of mine. And so for 2021, I'm releasing issue 3. I'm halfway done. It will be finished probably the middle of January, if not the end of January, depending on. I start a new job on Monday, and then I think actually Monday I'm starting 2 new jobs. I have to figure out the licensing on the second one, but my schedule is gonna get packed. I'm still gonna stay up. Dennis, your wife lets you actually draw on the bed. That's amazing. I get to draw on the couch, so my wife doesn't do well with flashing lights at all. So she goes to bed, and then I draw till about 3 a.m. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'll just sit on the couch, watch Ink Master, and that's like my show right now. I actually will tell you it's helped my line work quite a bit because I imagine presenting this stuff to the judges and ripping it apart, and I'm like, I need thicker lines, I need good perspective. I recently got into it, and my wife was like, how much money did we spend on Amazon on this? I'm like, I don't know. It's not a lot, I promise. But yeah, so for 2021, we're gonna release issue 3. My goal is February to have Cristiano done with colors on that. I don't foresee any issue there. It's already written. I'll letter it in a day. And issue 0, I know they're hard at work on that. That'll be Q1, for those guys. Issue 4, again, it's already written. My plan is to release issue 4 in March, and right when I release issue 4 onto Kickstarter, I want to have it done when it hits Kickstarter. So all it has to do is be colored while we're running the Kickstarter, then have 5 ready right after that. Like my goal in the first quarter, I think I'm putting a lot on my plate, so I think I'm gonna have to move my 5th book out a month. But the goal is to release 4 books next year and issue 0, so a total of 5. If I can do that by December, I'll I'll be happy. My total goal 1 year is to get to a point where I can release 6 books in a year, do every other month release, because I have 36 books for the title, and we're released in seasons. Season 1, season 2, season 3, season 1 and half of season 2 written, and we've got Convictor Caliber crossover and Omen and Spectre crossover. So Crit has a lot going on. I'm hoping that I can get it by 2022 into 6 books in a year. Goal for 2021 is 5. I did 2 this year, so let's cross our fingers and hope that I can get that done. That's the goal. I might stay up till 3 a.m. every night, but I started this morning I have a daily planner. I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is I write a message to myself. I'm not going to share these because it's to me. Screw you guys. It's a positive message to myself to keep me motivated and keep me on task. And I create that because I'm going to be balancing. I have one job that's in California, so it's 2 time zones behind me. I have another job that's I work literally like it's 2 hours away from my house, so I have to drive there twice a week. I'm a person that needs structure in my life, so I'm actually panicking about Monday because it's going to change my entire structure. So I decided I'd get a little bit ahead of the curve, start scheduling my time. I hit the gym 4 to 5 times a week. I used to do 5 to 6, and I've cut back because COVID and life and quality. But goal is to maintain, an hour a day, 5 days a week, to 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and all that. So I definitely need to be budgeting my time properly, and I have to put my wife and kid in there as well. So yeah, I have a lot on my plate if I plan on doing 5 books. So wish me luck.
That sounds like you're gonna be pulling your hair out.
Well, I'm blessed that I have the support system that I do. Between my wife, which you can see when we did that last piece together, she's fully supportive, and having all you guys, it's been really awesome to keeping motivated. Like I said, watching Dennis grow over the last year. The Slate guys, you guys release things before I can even think about possibly releasing one thing. You have 10 things out. Jesse, Burlap is a huge inspiration because it reminds me of like quality writing can happen on the indie side. And Jerry, really, I'm really happy to meet you and watch you grow and bounce ideas off you too. It's been fun. You asked the most intense questions I've ever had to answer. Yeah. So 2020 it's been fun. 2021 it's I'm going for it. I'm gonna try and do 5 books.
I have to say everything happens for a reason. I say to myself that book issue 0 came out 2016. I wonder how deep into the issues I would have been if I kept with that momentum, but I didn't. I put the book out, like I said, I kept the logo and stuff, and people have been harassing me for a few years, like, dude, where's the next issue? Where's the next issue? And the fact that I took so long to actually want to work on the next issue, I couldn't bring back the original artist. So now I had to go, artist hunting again and go through all the steps of finding the right artist for my book. And then finally finding that artist and then, starting the whole process over. But, if it didn't happen this way, I guess in 2020 didn't happen the way it did, I guess I wouldn't have worked as hard to build my following, to build my connections, and to meeting people and everything. So that's why I always say things happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wouldn't have worked out the same way if I kept the momentum, back then. Because a lot of the people that I know now literally started like this year or the year before, and are, growing rapidly. And it's so good to see it.
As I'm blessed and cursed at the same time because I have to write the game, which writes the book, and then I draw it too. Sometimes I wish that I could I've actually asked the team if I could take on other artists and just pay them, like do a Kickstarter and fund it. They just won't let me. They really like watching. They said specifically this was kind of cool, kind of stuff at the same time. They see this, if you've ever seen One Punch Man, it started off as a web comic, and it wasn't that great, and my art wasn't that great when we started. And they're like, it's really cool to watch you grow as an artist. And they're like, I'd rather watch you grow in every book than pay someone else to do it. I got permission for one book. It's a anime manga style book in season 2. That's the only one. It has to be manga, American comic book, flipped backwards. So you have to read it like an actual manga and an actual manga artist. Obi is going to drop some LSD in that book by accident, and it's going to be a fun trip. So, that being said, I do have a big goal, not just for me, but for a few people. I would like to see myself and my friends not only, grow their brands on Instagram and on Kickstarter, but I would like to see us get outside and find, a broader audience. So that is one of my goals that I want to take on. I've taken some steps to start getting there. I have enough connections, my job, for one, to get us out there. I've talked individually with a few of you about the possibilities of things, and that is very, very much on the forefront of my goals for next year, because I don't believe that I can grow by myself and be successful. The only way, if 2020 has taught me anything with you guys, we all have to win. If we're all winning, it's just momentum. Keep it going. And so I want to get us in some stores. If cons open back up, I want to get there. I want to do some stuff. I want to grow our individual brands, and I want to make especially Homebrewed Comics. I want my brand recognition to be better. So those are, not comic book, but they are, my brand, I guess, goals.
That's definitely the same thing with me. I've been talking to a couple of comic book stores, comic book people that sell comics and audition them, and I've been trying to find another platform. But once again, I'm the shy guy. This whole being in the face of the comic and being on lives or anything like that, it's not what I want to do. That's the honest truth. It's not me. I'm the behind the scene guys, quiet dude, and everything. But like I said, if you want to see your things to see, sometimes you gotta break out of your comfort zone and try to push forward from that. And like you said, whenever I get an opportunity, I like to try and help other people bring up, their creations, and because that's where we all came from.
Mm-hmm. And none of us would be where we're sitting, except maybe Jesse. I'm just saying, I know me personally, and I'll speak for Jason, because we've heard him say 100 times he never thought Convictor would become a reality. And this year he was able to do that with the help of Dennis, and I know Jesse as well. And I will throw my hand in for lettering with him. But I know Jason thanks everybody for the support everyone's given him. And I gotta call the guy out, because I'm pretty sure these lives and this Phalanx and all of the face time, no pun intended there, that we all have is thanks to him. So I know he's hanging out with family today, and I want to say thank you to him for allowing us to get together to do these things. And really, who started the live revolution on Instagram? Let's just give it to the man. Ladies and gentlemen. I didn't see another creator doing lives like him until literally I tuned in making macaroni and cheese for my kid one night, and I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember I was there for his first live because me and him, I had just joined Instagram as a comic book creator. Like I had a personal one, but I made it into the Burlap one. And it gives you all these suggestions for, like-minded accounts. And I saw the Convictor, and I was like, that looks badass. I want to check that out. So I checked it out, and I followed him, and he followed me. And next thing you know, I got all these different accounts following me, like Jason Farrell Art, and then the Cranky Operator. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And then he hit me up, and we had a great conversation about comics, just about like, me and him both grew up in New Jersey, and all that, and just talking about each other's characters. And then he started doing his lives, and that's the thing. And it's like with Dennis as well. Like, when he started doing the Burlap fan art, and I've seen all this amazing stuff come, like, since then, because like I knew Dennis as the guy who did amazing fan arts of all this really cool stuff, and now he's doing all kinds of amazing stuff. It's so awesome to see. But same with Jason and Dennis, like from me and him having like probably under 200 followers, just meeting each other on Instagram in the beginning. And then now what it's kind of turned into with this great community that we have that kind of like accepted us into it. And, we've been able to bring others into it and stuff like that. And yeah, meeting Jason and his like just motivation and his ideas and just his ways of getting the word out about what he's doing and what we're all doing has been so inspiring. And it's really led to, I feel like, what a lot of us are niched in today. So yes.
Yeah.
Jason, with your cigar out there.
Yep.
I know you're watching. Thank you.
I remember the day he was like, "Hey man, are you up for a call?" And I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" I'm not the most easy to break that barrier with. And him and I were talking actually I was just talking to my wife about this tonight, and she was like, because Jason called me to make sure we got this all set up properly. And she was like, "Oh, how's your bromance?" And I was like, it's kind of funny because someone, one of my best friends is a guy I've never met, and he's off Instagram, but I talk to him every single day. If I'm having a bad day, I've even talked to him about like my personal life, not just comic books, and just, he's always there for you, willing to help out in any way if he can. I mean, I remember when, my Kickstarter was launching, I'm sitting there with COVID. I felt like complete and utter garbage, had to launch this thing. And he's calling me to make sure I'm okay, for one. And then he's like, have they launched your Kickstarter? And he watches as like cold start kick, this thing again. And he's just like, all right, we got to get it going. He wasn't like, good luck. He was like, okay, let's start making posts, and let's rally the troops. And, but he doesn't just do that for everybody here. He does that for everyone. Like if you have done a fan art for him, if you have sent, like, if you are on his circle, which is rather large, like this dude, how many times do you see somebody post Convictor? Like if you
indie mashup, indie team ups, everything.
Team ups, he's on almost every one. It's great.
He's the guy. He should be the Godfather, to be honest with you. You just got the nickname because of the dark movie. Your wife got you a light for Christmas, so you are relinquished of that title.
I'm just a big guy in the shadows. That's why I had that. The true metaphor belongs to Jason.
But when you launch a Kickstarter and he's the first person to post a video, go back this, like that's someone who you should consider a friend. Not just an Instagram friend, but that person's taking time out of their day to post on every one of their accounts. If that, and he does that just because that's who he is. There's no hidden agenda, and there's a few people, I gotta put this up here.
Do it.
There are.
That won't fit now because my head's.
There are people with less
talking up the man
creative characters out there who won't give anyone the time of day, or they think they're top dog, king of the game kind of people. And Jason, who, I mean, we saw the success on the Kickstarter. We see, yeah.
Saw that, Nate.
We've seen his success hands down. We see the community backing him, not just on a Kickstarter level, but he's with the book with Hunter's Moon. He hit a speed bump. People are out there like loving what's going on, and it's because of who he is. At the end of the day, Convictor's great, but Jason is the one that has that support because of who he is, and I can hands down say our community is better and stronger because of him. So if 2020, like the biggest success I think 2021 had for most of us is getting in with Jason and being part of that community. Because hell, when you guys launched Slate Comics, put it in the group chat. He's blowing it up. We're all blowing you up. We wouldn't have the group chat we have without Jason. I wouldn't know Dennis without Jason. Jesse, I can't remember if I actually think I followed you on Facebook first because of an ICC group or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
But I didn't really talk to you until then. And I remember the first fan art that Jack and Nate did for Convictor. And I was like, oh man, I wish they'd do one for Crit, but I won't ever ask somebody for a fan art. I was like, oh, I love seeing Caliber like in other forms. And then you guys Nate sent me that damn anime style freaking thing when we launched the Kickstarter. I was like, oh, he knows I exist. That's awesome. Like everybody in here, hats down to Jason. We wish you the best. Have fun with your family. Take care of everything. We wish you were here, but cheers.
Cheers.
It's empty, but I'm gonna do it.
My coffee.
Damn,
That's the gift that you guys have. Like I give it to like Chris and Jason. Your gift for Gabber is something else.
My wife will be chiming in here in a minute. I never shut up.
Oh my goodness. You know what? And the funny thing about it, if my wife met your wife, it would be love at first sight. I can tell off the bat. The stories that they would tell each other about us would go on forever. Like my wife would just see some of your wife's comments. She's like, I really like this girl. Like, I want to meet her. And I'm like, no, because you're going to spill all the beans about my history and everything. And I don't need you to do that right now.
Well, we've also, I think we're going on 15 years, 16 years. She calls me out for everything. We're best friends first, married second. Like at the end of the day, she's my best friend. She's been my best friend since I moved to North Carolina in 2004. And, at the end of the day, we're always going to be best friends. And if you see how I talk to my best friends, that's how we talk. It's always, it's always trash talking. I think we trash talk each other more than I trash talk anybody. And it's just who we are. But I'll tell you what, man, like that, my wife and will tell you too. I actually have like real bad social anxiety, and when I was on tour, the reason I did all the books and the reason I was the guy doing all the behind the scenes work was because I could not even stand in a club. We had sold out a venue, a few of them actually. I forgot the venue in Charlotte. Dennis, you might know the what's that old? They tore it down. Do you ever know any venue in?
None of the old ones. 7 years.
So we were playing with like Killswitch Engage and Bury Your Dead, and it was like the sold out show, and my guys are all in the crowd. They're just talking up a storm, and I'm like, all right, I'll be in the van until we play. Everyone thought that I was this like jerk because I never came out and talked to anybody, but it was because I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle all the stuff going on. Warped Tour, I actually had a panic attack on Warped Tour because we had so many people trying to talk to us. So it's funny that you guys like see this side of me because I don't really do well in social settings.
You see, I'm a little bit similar. I'm like the quiet guy when I first meet people. So you'll see me just like, and that's about it. And I guess it's like me feeling out, the people around me and stuff. And then when people actually start to get to know me, they're like, this is not what I expected. Like, not at all. And it's like, Oh well, I'm just the kind of person that stay quiet or whatever, and I guess my resting face is just kind of like a put off kind of face and stuff. So when I start talking to people and they're like, "Oh, okay, you're not what I expected," it's like, "Oh, okay," And then once we start to link, I feel like someone like me has a good judge of character. That's why I say like I keep like my circles real small. So if I'm talking to you, if we speak or anything like that, it's because like, I feel that there's a positive vibe with you guys and stuff. So, that's why it's like very easy for me to talk to you guys, ask you guys for advice, if I need it for guidance or anything like that.
Anytime. There's not a person in this group right now that wouldn't give advice when asked. I mean, just hands down. But we're hitting the 2-hour mark. So my last question, I want to close the night out. I want to know your most proud moment, what you're working on right this minute, and where everyone can find you. And I am going to start this one with, I'm going to pick on Dennis.
Yes.
I mean, I've only worked through Instagram, so Dr. Valencia Designs. I know one was proudest moment. What was the second one?
Proudest moment, what you're working on, like right this minute, not going into next month, but the end of 2020.
Gotcha. What I'm working on right now, I'm finishing up the convictor commissions from Hunter's Moon. We knocked it out of the park as far as the tiers go. So I took the frame that I did, the indie frame, and I'm doing actually the commissions on those. So there's probably like 4 of them. I'm going to use that as the frame them actually in an actual frame, and that's going to be their commission. So I think it's kind of a nice, cool touch.
Badass.
Yeah, to their tier, and they paid a ton of money for that tier, and I just think it would look super cool being in that frame with all your guys' characters in it. I think that's a dope gift for that tier, and they wouldn't have expected it. There's just something that came about. I was like, you know what? Let me send this to my printer. I picked them up today and knock out a bunch of those. So I'm finishing that. There were a couple of requests I had from a couple of creators of like, can you do this team up? Can you do this homage? And these are just personal friends. So I do want to knock those out. That's on my radar. I think that's right now all I have currently going. And I don't know about you guys, but there's so many cool things in the back of my brain that I want to do that just kind of keep you going. That isn't paid commission, isn't a work, but it's just fun shit you want to get on paper that's been burning a hole in the back of my head. So like we were doing for Draw for Change, we're doing a Star Wars commission thing, a Star Wars theme, and it's to help survivors of sex trafficking. So there's just been an idea burning in the back of my brain that I wanted to get on paper, and this is perfect. So I'll spoil it now, but I don't know if you guys know who Vinny is from Spaceballs.
Yes.
All right. I want to do him on a cover, like with the bounty hunters, and there's Vinny. Like that's dope. You know what I mean? Do my version of Vinny from Spaceballs with like Boba Fett and like Bosk and like the whole crew, like, and he's there, looking like a badass. But things like that like that's fun for me, and that'll keep my juices flowing to the next project. I will say this as far as what I'm proudest of, aside from the charity event that I feel like it's a different level of art for me because I feel like I'm trying to help people, and that means so much to me. The two things, the biggest thing obviously is meeting you guys and partnering with Jason and being part of that Convictor universe. It's interesting that you mentioned it because it never really dawned on me that like you guys have such a big reach. All you guys have such a huge audience, but the one constant I see every morning is Convictor. Like you will see a fan art every other day of Convictor, and that is 100% because Jason. And even when things started coming about slowly, and this part like reminded me, Jerry, what you had said is like, I'd always say like a couple episodes ago, I'm just the guy who draws cool shit. But by hanging out with you guys give me the balls to write a story. You guys give me the balls to put my OCs that I've had, just like Jason, 20, 30 years in the closet, pulling them out and saying, you know what? I want to let their story out and put it out there. So it's just crazy, like just for meeting you guys. And again, to Jerry's point, like we've not just evolved as like artists. Like I'm evolved as a guy who draws cool shit. Now I want to be a writer. Now I want to be a creator, like a full-blown creator like you guys. We're not just evolving as artists. We're evolving as people. So the same thing, Jerry. I didn't care about live streams. I didn't care about being on anyone's show or talking. I've had people ask me, "Do you want to do this?" or "Can you be on my live stream?" I said no, because that's not my thing. Now I do. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm evolving. Now I'm out of my shell. And artists, it's our nature. We just sit in our little world, kind of tune everything out, and we do our little thing. We're almost very not antisocial, but we're very inclusive in our little world. And I feel like being a part of this group and community, we're not just evolving as artists, we're just evolving as people, which is super dope. The proudest moment, I will say, and again, all the props to Jason, the Convictor, and getting me out there. I did a project with Jesse. I'll probably let it go, maybe put it out there hopefully next week, next couple weeks. But that was probably my biggest highlight of 2021. And when you guys see it, it hit all my buttons as far as like the artist in me reaching outside of my comfort zone of just drawing capes. It was drawing something that was totally not what I typically draw. I tried a different medium. I used paint instead of just doing pencils and inks. I tried a different brush on it. I tried different techniques. And I think it worked. And just the meaning behind it, it wasn't a commission. It wasn't a job. It wasn't to get my name out there. It was to help a friend who, personally, I think I did his first fan art. That was one of the things, when I'm a rookie looking at cool shit. And I'm like, God damn, he's cool. He has a cool rogues gallery. And then doing this with him as a work and hitting all the heart, tugging on all the heartstrings, and then seeing the result from it, then it's not even over. Like just the things that he sent me of like, this is what our collab did, and all the things I didn't know it would do, like just cool, super cool shit. Where I showed my wife, I'm like, check this out. Like he just sent me this. Look at this picture. And look at what he said. Like that's that topped my whole year off. Where it's just more than just the art and more than just the book and more than just the commission. But that was probably my biggest thing, ending on the year on a high note. And then, I look to do so much more as far as like our development as artists, our development as people, our development as creators. Just cool shit to way down the year.
Jerry,
Wow.
proudest moment, where people can find you, what you're working on right this minute.
Everyone can find me at Instagram at E4 Comics. I'm also on Facebook under E4 Comics as well. Like I said, I'm currently working on issue 1, finishing the edits. Currently working on writing of issue 2, which should be in the works. Should hopefully get some inks out for that as well. Proudest moments, like we were saying, growing as people, coming out of our shell and interacting with other people and meeting other people and stuff. Proudest moments for me is one, when you hear people talk about you in a good vibe, is one of the best feelings ever. So that means like you touched somebody or you did something to someone that meant something. So I've learned that sometimes, you always have your circle around you that protect you, check on you, make sure everything's okay, help you out when you need. But when you have that random person that you wouldn't expect, like reach out and say, hey, you okay? Or, hey, this is amazing. Like, thank you for doing this. Or what you're doing is amazing. It hits you a different way. So when I hear other people go on live and I swing by to say what's up, they'll take the time to say, hey, yo, Jerry's a great person, check him out, follow his content. He's doing everything correct. Like Concrete Comics, Lonzo goes on live. He always, shouts E4 Comics out, always saying, yo, Jerry does great things and stuff like that. It feels great. Another proud moment was when Dennis did the shock for me. Like when I seen that piece, I was just like, I was humbled. I was like, wow, like that took my breath away, and then now I'm seeing like my other characters are being included in other indie mashups, so I was like, I definitely have to do one. So that's why I did one with Commander, and I did with Boulder. and I'm currently working on a couple of others as well. So
awesome. I love that.
I'm looking to do that. Like I said, I'm always out trying to help support, who I can, Kickstarters, everything. And, as soon as I'm able to, I'm definitely looking to buy Burlap. I got to get on those books. I feel so left out right now, like I'm definitely.
I gotta get on the elements too, man. I gotta get on it. Send me those links. Slide into my DMs like Dennis does to Chris. Chris does to Dennis. Getting those DMs.
What's funny is we're not in each other's DMs that much.
It's been a while.
It's been quite a while. Yeah. Well, we talked on the SSP.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm working on right now and stuff. Trying to. Oh, another thing. I'm like, you see this sweater and this T-shirt, and I spoke to Chris about it. Like, I feel like I'm still kind of in a slump with when it comes out to clothes design. I see people putting their designs out, and I'm there like every time I try like a new shirt design, I'm like, it doesn't fit right. Like something's missing. So I've literally been currently working on that. Because I would like to add them to the Kickstarter as well. So as a reward and everything. But I've been throwing in images, playing around with the characters and the clothes design and everything. As of right now, just trying to find something that fits that set. This is it and stuff. So that's about it.
Just use Printful. They're great. I use them. I know Jason uses them, and I believe Concrete uses them as well because I ordered my Concrete hoodie, and they're in North Carolina, so I get everything super quick. Yeah. So just for future reference, try them out. Jesse, most proud moment, what you're working on right this minute, and where people can find you.
All right, I'll start with the latter, like the rest of the fellas, because that seems to be the trend. Get out of the way. So yeah, you can find me at Burlap Comics on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. That's just me. That's just Jesse Bear. There is a Burlap Facebook that I never update, and I should probably get on that, but Facebook is intimidating, much more intimidating than Instagram.
Yeah.
That's a whole other discussion though that would get the Slate boys all riled up. So I'm gonna move on from that. But yeah, now my proudest moment, I have two proudest moments of 2020. The one that came first is when I got Burlap into its first comic book shop. That was something I never I dreamed it would happen. Like I hoped it would happen one day, but just through I'm a creator. I'm a creative person. I'm not so much business savvy, which is why I'm really glad I met Chris because he's excellent with that. But yeah, getting through the proper channels and getting to know people and getting, distribution deals and stuff like that. I was always nervous about that because I don't know anything about it. But just the universe aligned, and through a family member and a friend, I met a owner of a comic book shop. My friend and my family member vouched for me and my books. And next thing you know, I'm headed to his shop with a box of issues 1 through 4, multiple copies. And I'm seeing Burlap on the same shelf as like X-Men and Bloodshot and Spider-Man. And I'm literally standing in this comic book shop. And that's been one of my favorite things to do since I was a kid, was to go to the comic book shop. I'd spend way too much money. I'd just be browsing the shelves, looking at the indie titles, the main titles. And that's where I found my love for indie comics is I would see these like really pulpy noir books that weren't Marvel or DC or anything, or maybe they were Dark Horse or Image. And I'd see stuff like Eric Powell's The Goon, and I just fell in love with indie comics. And I'm standing in this comic shop in Pennsylvania, and I'm looking at a book that I wrote that I, worked with Zoran with, him doing the artwork and me, telling him how like this goes, that goes with the scripts, and just seeing the covers where I was like, oh, this would be a cool idea for a cover, and it's there on the shelf in a comic book shop. That I was so proud of that because number one, I never thought I'd actually, I thought I was just doing something fun where, you know, I'd get it to a certain small circle of people. But here it was in this comic shop. And I left, like, you know, a good amount of issues. And I left there. And I remember, because I looked at my GPS, it took me 26 minutes to get home. And I didn't go right home. I went to the bar with my buddy Austin, who's actually real life Jack from the Burlap Comics. And, you know, I was just excited and I wanted to share the news with him. And I sit down at the bar literally exactly a half hour after I left the shop. And I get a text from the shop owner. And he's like, I should have asked for more, man. I'm sold out. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm sold out. I got nothing. He's like, when can I see you again to get more books? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I flipped out. I was like, look at this. Look at this. Sold out in less than an hour. I was shocked. And literally then 2 more times I re-upped them on more books. Each re-up sold out in less than a day or in a couple hours. And I was just like, these weren't like, you know, people on Instagram that followed me or people who heard of what I was doing in social media. These were comic fans just walking into a shop and seeing my books on the shelf and being like, you know what, I'm going to pick that up. And I've never been more proud of myself for accomplishing something than somebody like me, a comic book fan, walking into a shop and seeing what I, you know, created and what Zoran helped me create and wanting to read it. And that was awesome. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that day where I dropped those books off. I hung out at the shop for a little bit. And then getting that text a half hour later, so proud of that. And I'm going right back to my buddy Dennis. You're not in my zone with my pointing anymore since my camera crapped out. But yeah, so Dennis, if you don't mind, I'll go into a little bit of detail about that whole thing.
Of course.
All right. So long story short, I'll try and keep it short. So I have a 3-year-old daughter, Vera. She just turned 3 in December. This little girl is my whole world. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, awful history that I have, but I've lost children. I'm like I said, I won't get into any of the details about it. It's nothing I want to relive, nothing I want the viewers to really know about. But you know, Vera was our miracle child, and I am so thankful for her every day. And something I've always wanted to do since she was old enough to kind of find who she was. My daughter is so much like me and also so much like her mom, but she's like me in that she loves the imaginary. She loves that creativity. Like, her favorite things are her bedtime stories. She loves, since she was a little baby, an infant, having me or my wife read her a book, any kind of fairy tale or corduroy or a Mickey Mouse book. Like, she lived for those moments where we'd sit down in her rocking chair in her room and read her bedtime story. So I said to myself, once I kind of started writing again and doing the comics and stuff, I'm like, one day I'm going to write something for my daughter and I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. And so when she was going to turn 3, I said, you know, it would be great. I'm going to write her own children's book. Like, since she loves those books, that's her like favorite time of the day is when we read her bedtime story. What if there was one where it was about her? It was her living out her favorite adventures that she sees in her cartoons and her books and in her own imagination, and even stuff she experiences in real life. So I wrote this, and I'd never done anything like this before with rhyme, or I'm terrible at poetry. I'm absolutely horrible. But so I spent an entire night, hours upon hours, in my composition book that has burlap and big black Sharpie written on it with, like, you know, crude drawings of burlap and stitches and staples and cottontail. And I'm writing these like cutesy kid rhymes in it. And I kept like pacing in my kitchen, like, okay, so what rhymes with this, or what rhymes with that? What would be fun and silly here? And I finally came up with it. And I had seen Dennis had posted, it's one of my all-time favorites from the whole Convictor Kickstarter campaign, was the Kid Victor with the werewolf puppy cover variant. And I just had that image stuck in my head when I was thinking of the art style of this book. So immediately, I was at work. I was in the middle of finishing up feeding a certain department of patients. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to text him. I'm just going to text him and see what he thinks. You know, if he's too busy, whatever. But I had my heart set on Dennis doing the artwork for this. And I texted him, like, literally, I'm like cleaning up like spatulas and stuff. And I'm on my phone like, hey, Dennis, like, I got this idea. I want to run it by you. And he was immediately on board. And I'll never forget it. The first thing he said was, he's like, oh, the little girl you show me pictures of wearing the burlap mask, running around the house with the baseball bat. I'm in.
He was terrified.
Yes, my daughter does that. I have like a real burlap mask I made that is the character. She'll yank that thing off the counter and put it on and chase me around the house.
Wait, was it on the pumpkin? Did you make a pumpkin of burlap head or something like that?
I tried that. I tried carving a burlap jack-o'-lantern. It looked more like Jack Skellington, but I tried. But yeah, so then me and him teamed up on this. I sent him the I guess you can call it a script. It was more just like a few pages. Like I would write a description of what was happening in the page, and I'd show him the rhyme underneath. And like you said, the man works fast. In under 2 months, definitely under 2 months, he had. I even had to research it, like how many pages a children's book is, and it said like anywhere from like 16 to 26. So it ended up being like 16 pages, and each page I could just tell he put his all into it. It was beautiful. It was perfect. He designed, my daughter's character to be so much like her, and just this real fun caricature of her that's so recognizable. And the proudest moment from that whole experience was I had it printed by Digital Universe. They sent me like 8 test copies before I get the bulk shipment done. And it was perfect because it arrived the day before Christmas Eve. And his whole plan was to have it either for her birthday or for Christmas. And literally, this like I said, the universes aligned, and it was there on my doorstep the day before Christmas Eve. And I'm so thankful to Dennis for cranking it out because that would have never happened otherwise. But yeah, so I couldn't wait till Christmas. I went up to my daughter and my wife when I got home from work the day before. I said, hey, I have a Christmas present I want you both to open. It's for both of you. And my wife's like, I just spent all this money on all these Christmas presents for her. What do you mean you got her a present from you? What? And I'm like, no, it's not like that kind of. Like, I'm like, you'll see. And so she opened it. I had my wife read it aloud to my daughter, and both of them just lit up. Like, neither of them had any idea me and Dennis were doing this. I kept this thing so under lock and key that nobody except for like the people in our immediate circle and maybe like a family member or two of mine that I confided in about it knew about it. But my wife read it aloud to her. My daughter was so excited. She kept pointing out things like, oh, that's me and Grandpa on the motorcycle. Oh, that's me at the farm. That's me with the fairies. Like, that's me with the monsters. Oh, the monsters are in my room. Like, just, she loved every single page. She's asked me and my wife to read it to her every night since she got it. And that's probably, like, all comic book stuff aside, just on a personal note, like Dennis said, is just that collaboration that me and him were able to create this thing that I had pictured in my head 100 times, but Dennis helped me bring it to life. My wife literally cried when she finished the last page. She loved it so much. And it genuinely made, it just, both of them love it. And my daughter loves it. She loves to show it to people and talk about it. So my short story wasn't so short, but that I really wanted to tell. Just that really helped.
Jesse, take the reins today for the babbling.
The babbling.
That's beautiful.
That's what it's about right there, man.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's my proud stuff. 2020.
Slate boys, you'll be in 2021 before us, so yeah, we'll start with Jack. Nate keeps getting picked first.
I'll start the same way Jesse did. You can find me over at Sloane Comic Art on Instagram. Also have a Facebook page as well, same sort of thing, Sloane Comic Art, and we also have the company account as well, which you can see there, Slate Comics. You can find everything we're doing with the Slate universe on that page, and everything else we're doing on our private pages. But my biggest moment, like most proudest moment of the year, would definitely be launching Slate Comics as a whole. It's something that we've been, like I said, I've known Nate for 6 years now, and it's something we've been, just spitballing. It's been a pipe dream sort of thing. So we were really, I was really proud when we were able to do that, and massive thanks to you boys in the chat that helped share it around and get it out there. It was very well received. A lot of people were happy that we finally did it. So yeah, that'd be my major moment for the year, as well as meeting you boys as well. Like I said, I say it all the time on every live I'm on. I love the indie community. We've got such a tight knit connection, and it's like you boys have spoken about already on the chat, or on this live as well. That even when you don't feel like doing something, you jump on Instagram and you see one of the boys have done something new, and it really kicks you into gear, keeps you going, sort of thing. So every other day, Mr. No Sleep over here, always pumping out great pieces and stuff. And definitely that'd be my two major moments for the year. Definitely launching the company and meeting you boys for sure. That's definitely that's capped my year off.
What are you working on?
In a minute. All right. Yeah. Similar. You can find me at NateArt83 on Instagram. If not, I'm tagged through the Slate Comics Instagram page on here. Proudest moment of the year would have to, besides launching Slate itself and seeing the reception that got, would be my nephew and my 8-year-old, I'm going to say 8-year-old daughter actually sitting down and drawing Omen from a sketch I had lying around the house. I still got to post it. That's probably my proudest one. I come out, I'm like, hey, I know him. That's when my nephew, who loves Batman, realized that I've started a comic book company. So I'm a million questions every time I go over this near my mum's house where he lives with her. So every time I'm there, it's just a million questions. Omen this, Omen that. I'm like, you're not going to be able to read the book. He's only 11. But you're not going to be able to read the book, man. I might get a special edition one-off G-rated print for him. That's probably it. But yeah, that's my two proudest moments would be that the fan art from family and launching Slate Comics as well. So that's cut off there for the year. But he's doing bigger next year for all of us boys.
I'll round it out. You can find me at Homebrewed Comics on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Homebrewed Comics with an X because there's a beer company that uses my name, apparently.
Bastards.
They haven't posted anything in a long time. I really wish they'd relinquish it. But, yeah. I can't even get the website because there's a coffee company that uses it, but their coffee company isn't even named. Like, it redirects to their website. It's kind of frustrating. I've emailed them and called them because they're even out of business. And I'm like, hey, can I have it? I was going to pay for it. So I'm stuck with hbhcomics.com because the company name's Homebrewed Heroes. But, yeah, anyway. So, yeah, those are the places you can find me. And, I guess I would have two. You guys all remember my daughter's art of Reach. She used Jack's reference. I thought it was honestly weird that she chose Reach of all characters, but she wanted a challenge. And when I was talking about Reach one night, it was right when I got the books for Crit 2, it had just come in. And she read Crit 1. There's some undertones in there, but we all have kids. And when I wrote the book, my friends specifically asked for them to be able to show their children because they wanted their kids to be able to see them as superheroes. So anyway, I give her book 2, and she's sitting in the living room, and I hear her giggling at like nonstop, and she's reading this line. Of course, I'm gonna run into them, and again and again. And she's just laughing the entire time. It was that moment when I said, "Wow, like my kid really enjoys what I just wrote." And then she runs in, and the rest of the night she's drawing Reach because of, I had said that his face mask was tough, and she's like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it." And she sat at my desk where I'm sitting now, and she'd come in. Does this look all right? Does this look all right? And she put so much effort into it. and I'm gonna get that framed. But that to me was very powerful. That's my stepdaughter. I've been in her life since the day she was born, and it was just awesome for her to have that passion. The second was the Noah video.
Yes.
I was in. I was this. My wife texted me and said I'm going to be home late, and I was like, I don't care right now. I'm in tears of joy because that was me as a child. You know, I was always so excited about, you know, Star Wars, Batman. Like I remember those moments, and when I was watching the video of this young child reading my books and being excited, and Spectre's my favorite character because he shoots purple flames. You know, like we as adults forget the simplicity that we enjoyed as a child. We liked Boba Fett because of his armor. We didn't like Boba Fett because he was a bounty hunter. We liked Boba Fett because he had the cool armor with the rocket that popped out off on the toy. And you couldn't get the toy without mailing all these things in.
He's got a dad bod.
Yeah, we forget those simple things. And it reminded me of being a kid. And it said to me, hey, you're on to something, because, you know, it's cool to get feedback from adults. You know, like I send stuff to you guys. Yeah, that's cool. That's fun. But when I have my kid, and then, you know, Noah genuinely like smiling, and his father messaged me and said, you know, he was going to do an Instagram video, but he loved it and wants to do a whole YouTube thing on this. Like, that really hit hard, because I don't talk to them on a regular basis. Like they were just you know, he just backed it on Kickstarter, and that said, I've got to make 21 a big year. So those are my two proudest moments. And right now I'm chugging through book 3. I have a commission piece that I'm working on. It's tough because the person wants me to draw them as Bane, and you know, he's in the picture. The dude's ripped. Don't get me wrong, he's my buddy. Dude's ripped, but he's my height. He's like 5. Well, he's actually a little bit shorter than me, but you know, he's like, oh, make me look bigger like Bane would be, and then add the mask. And you know, I've never really drawn. You know, Caliber Boulder's probably the closest thing I've ever drawn to somebody that I know, but he's got a beard and glasses. It's really easy. Trying to make this guy look like he wants, I'm being very particular on it. And then I started sketching out my piece for Burlap. So January is my one art piece I will do in January is Burlap. I allow myself, you know, one every month, one thing outside my book, and Burlap has January.
I cannot wait for that.
Yeah,
I nudge on that. You're like, oh yeah, drawing this and that. And I was like, you know, you haven't drawn Burlap yet, Chris. Come on.
There's a reason. That mask intimidates the crap out of me, because I love texture, and like the mask is just all texture. The rest of them, I mean, it's pretty simple. You would think, yeah, I don't worry about facial expression. Well, you've got the cross hatching in here, you've got the mesh in the face, and I was like, oh man, like, and the pieces that when I do a month piece, I want it to be, when you look at it, like I want you to see, like with Omen, you know, I put a lot of work into that. I put a lot of work into the piece for Jason. Like those pieces, my daily is these sequential art. So if I'm going to do a splash page, I've decided it's just going to be one a month going into 2021. That way, I see 30 days, I can break that up. And make sure especially if I'm doing a fan art for somebody, like I want to deliver the best I possibly can. And I'm telling you, I learned a lot from doing Conjure. Omen, man, you remember that face mask? I was messaging you every day. I'm like, I don't get it. I just didn't. That face mask confused the crap out of me. And so I realized between those two pieces that for me to get better as an artist, I've got to draw things that are outside my comfort zone. I can draw crit blindfolded at this point. You know, I said, well, what's the biggest challenge I can have? I was like, that damn mask. So 21, I'm going to be doing January. You should have that. I sketched out positioning, and I got some depth on there to make sure I've got, you know, the right proportions. But he's going to be jacked, dude. I'm sorry.
Do it.
He's gonna be Jack.
We've seen Jack Burlap before here and there and some stuff. So it works.
The dude runs around beating
Even
people
when
like Michael
Jordan
Myers.
draws him in certain pages. There are pages where he looks kind of like almost like like a very athletic, almost like lightweight boxer, and then there's scenes where his shoulders are like gigantic and his arms look like a gorilla. And hey, whatever works.
Well, I decided I'm gonna make him Jack. That was like, Michael Myers somehow comes back from the dead, like he's been on steroids for 50 years. So,
I don't
gotta
think
do a
he
Burlap.
have been on steroids for 50 years. We don't know. Probably not. Definitely not.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's that underwater. It's the pressure. He trains under pressure. That's what it is. Well, guys, this was great. Jason, if you're still in the comments, thanks for providing this platform for us tonight. I hope everybody that's tuned in, watching it now or later, I hope the last few days of 2020 are better than the beginning of the year, and I hope everyone has a great 21. Real quick, if you're on the page, please subscribe, hit the bell. We do these twice a month. That little bell will notify you when we're getting ready to do another one. We're at 77 subscribers right now, so thank you so much for that. And share the video, tell your friends. Phalanx, take care, guys. I'm sure I will probably be in a group chat in 5 minutes with you anyway. Real quick, when I end the broadcast, it's going to bring us back to the green room. So later, guys.